accident, you know it's no walk in the park. Car repairs, medical bills, and lost time from work all add up. And if the insurance company isn't paying their fair share, you have to cover the rest, even if it wasn't your fault. That's why you need an advocate. Call us today, and we'll do everything we can to get you moving again. Come on.
You deserve clear, risk-free advice to help get you back on your feet. You deserve an advocate.
This is the Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find the Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
It is Football Friday on the Monty Show, presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. I tell you every weekend, get out, enjoy it. Enjoy the last few weekends on your motorcycle, your bicycle, your rollerblades, with the golf clubs in your hand. But should the worst happen, be prepared. Get to theadvocates.com. If you get in a car accident, you get hit while riding your bike, you wind up in one of those odd situations with a semi-truck, hopefully not, get to theadvocates.com, where you can chat with an injury attorney 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It won't cost you a dime, because at The Advocates, you never pay out of pocket. You don't pay The Advocates unless and until they win your case at theadvocates.com. Boy, what a weekend of football we got for you. We have got Aaron Rodgers last night. As we talked about on the show yesterday morning, I should never, ever, ever listen to Jake's advice on Prize Picks. Ever. Even if there's a fire, ever. And Zerline got me last night. So I need Caleb.
A lot of people. He got a lot of people. He did.
No, he didn't. He got me, and it's personal. I'm kidding. I need Caleb Williams to come through for the Bears. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up. But let's get right to work, because I am a big, big fan of big, big football games, as you know, on this show. And I do not think that there is a bigger game this weekend than the Utes and the Okie-like Cowboys. The Utah Utes at Oklahoma State this weekend. It's everything that you want in the Big 12. It's why this conference it added, expanded. You have got more big games, and certainly this qualifies, because it should, and I say should, be one of the best games of the season. If Cam Rising is what we think he is, and again, I understand we've all got our tinfoil hats on and conspiracy theories. I totally understand it. There's no reason to believe Utah quarterback Cam Rising will not play in this game. There's every reason to believe he's good to go. It is what Kyle Whittingham does, which is he does not talk about injuries, and he has not. He said he's good. Monty Parks said he's good. There's no reason to question it. So let's go into this game believing that Cam Rising's good to go. And if Cam Rising's good to go, I think you have to favor the Utah Utes here. There are so many questions about that Oak State defense, and I think that's where this matchup will be won. I think it's this Utah offense, Mekhi Bernard in the backfield. I think Deshaun Stanley becomes a very important player for Utah this weekend. I think it is getting Brant Keithy the football in space. You have two big linebackers out for Oak State. Jake, there's every reason to believe that this is a win for Utah.
Absolutely. And I think, if we're obviously going to get deep into the X's and O's and talk about this game. And I think that, the big thing from a Big 12 point of view is that the Big 12 conference can't afford to have Utah lose this game. Utah needs to win this game, and they need to go on to win the conference in order for the Big 12 to have a shot at getting into the college football playoff, because I don't believe Oklahoma State is that guy this year. I don't believe that they're good enough to get in, even in the expanded format. So when I look at this game, if you're Mike Gundy, your biggest priorities on defense are figuring out how to contain Monty Parks and Brant Keithy, running through your secondary. And I think that that's a very difficult thing to do, not just for Oklahoma State, but for anybody playing Utah. And it's so difficult to stop those two because Utah is good at running the football. So if, again, as I've said all week long, I think the dynamic that's going to play out for Utah here is you're going to start early in this game by running the football. You're going to prove a point. You're going to get physical, and you are going to try to establish the run. Number one, that would be the first objective if I'm Utah. The second objective would be, getting a completion or two to Money Parks down the field of at least 20 yards. It doesn't have to be a 50-yard, bomb for a touchdown. But I think what you need to do is you need to gain the respect of those safeties with some good completions down the field. And if that happens, then I think you're going to see Brant Kuithe have a big day pretty much from the start. Now, in a perfect world for Oklahoma State, what do you need to do? You need to stop the run early in this game. You need to get Utah's offense off the field quickly in that first possession, and you need to take the lead in control this game. And that's where I think Oklahoma State's going to have some problems. I don't trust your defense. I didn't love what I saw against Arkansas, and Oklahoma State fan is going to say that that Gundy and company held things back, and that wasn't a true indication of what this team is about. And I'm saying, what truer indication do we need than you needing overtime to beat Arkansas, and largely needing the necessity for overtime was created by your defense getting beat repeatedly in the secondary. So I just don't believe that you're going to slow down this Utah offense, even if Cam Rising is 70%. Let's say his hand is sore, but he can throw the football and has to play through that. I still think you're going to have trouble slowing down that offense.
I think that Oklahoma State and their this 3-3-5 defense, so they like to play that 5 DB shell, 3 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers. That's not the best matchup for this Utah offense. But here's the thing. Again, I point to the guys that are not going to play in this game for Oak State, and I think it's significant. I think you look at Colin Oliver and Justin Wright both being out. Those are big losses. And I think that when you look at Cam Rising, I think you've got to find a way to get Brant Kuithe involved in this game early. I think you've got to take a shot down the field to really test the mettle of that Oak State secondary. They've given up big plays. There's no question about that this Oak State defense is susceptible to that big play. And I think it's because they haven't gotten as much pressure as you would hope up front. And I don't think that changes. As mediocre as this Utah offensive line has been this year, a 3-3-5 plays into their strengths. Because Oak State, the other thing they don't like doing on defense is blitzing a lot. And if you're not going to blitz in a 3-3-5 against this schematic for Utah, I think you're going to have a tough time getting home. And if you allow Cam Rising to sit back there and pick apart your defense, Mekhi Bernard and Dejon Stanley are going to have big games. And then you have nowhere to go. And you're going to wind up in the exact same spot that you were in against Arkansas. But this Utah team can finish because Lander Barton, the linebacker for the Utes, is a stud. He is a guy that is great against the run. And I also am curious, is this the week that Ollie Gordon gets healthy? Is this the week that he starts eating high on the hog? Because he's faced 7, 8, 9 guys in the box week in and week out. And this Oak State team has struggled to deal with that. And I throw the Tulsa game out. As much as everybody wants to throw out Southern Utah University for the Utes, I throw the Tulsa game out because they're garbo when it comes to being compared to a club like Oak State. I look at the first 2 games, South Dakota State, specifically that Arkansas game. That Arkansas offense is not much different when it comes to style than this Utah offense is going to be against Oak State. Because I think you're going to see, now you don't have Jaquindon Jackson in the backfield like you once did at Utah, who is at now Arkansas, but you have a guy like Mekhi Bernard, and you have a guy in Dejon Stanley, and you have a guy in Cam Rising, who I think a lot of people forget is a very mobile quarterback by design. He does not run out of panic. He is a guy that is calculated in the way that he runs. He moves a lot of times to throw the football. And if you turn your back to him, he will pick up 12, 15, 17 yards at a time on you. So I don't love this matchup for this Oak State defense the way they are currently constituted.
And I would completely agree. 3-3-5 is not the most ideal way to stop the run. And I think that, when you look at Utah, like, let's talk about the Baylor game a little bit. Like, I think Baylor was very physical against Utah, and as they should have been. I mean, I completely agreed with the strategy Baylor rolled out. As much as I thought that was a dirty ass hit on Cam Rising that led to the hand injury, I think that style of play when you're playing Utah on defense is what you need to employ to get to this team. Because I do think you'll see shades of it. I do think there will be moments in this game where, like, if you're Cam Rising, you talk about him running strategically, if you will, running only when he needs to, per se. Like, if you're Cam Rising, you need to be very cognizant of getting out of bounds, get down early. You cannot afford to make mistakes in this game, whether it be, you getting taken out of the game due to injury after you took a big hit, or you allowed the defense to get a look at you. Turning the football over can't happen in this game, because as much as I would agree with you, the 3-3-5 leaves Oklahoma State a little bit vulnerable against the run. If you turn the football over and you give Oklahoma State, let's call it 2 extra possessions that maybe they shouldn't have had because you made a mistake, that could be the difference in this game, because I don't think Utah's winning this game by, 14 points. That's not the kind of game we're looking at here.
Linebacking core is it's probably linebacker core versus linebacker core, I believe. And obviously I may have a little bias in this belief because I have seen so much of Lander Barton, and I don't see that you're going to be able to scheme Lander Barton out of the run game here. And if we know anything about Utah, they're going to force your 37-year-old quarterback to beat you. Oak State's going to have to throw the ball to beat you. Utah, in favor of Oak State here, Utah has not covered well this year. In the games that we have seen, and again, I do believe that there is far more depth in the defensive playbook than we have seen from Utah, because frankly, they just haven't needed it. They haven't had to get exotic in any situation this season so far. These 3 games, I mean, the Baylor game, was it somewhat of a test? Not really. Not really. Was the Utah State game a test? Not really.
Yeah, I mean, I think people were like, hey, like, what's going on here? Utah's coming out way slow against Utah State, and then they took control. And I think that's the hard part, is that there's a lot of unknown for both of these teams when it comes to the playbook. I would tend to, just looking at this logically, I would tend to say that we've seen more of Oklahoma State's playbook than we've seen of Utah's playbook because of the way the Arkansas situation went down. I personally believe, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm open to that, but I personally believe you employed everything that you had to win that game. Like, I think that Oklahoma State was like, hey, we got to have this game, and we're going to do everything we can do to win this game late. So I think you saw a lot of stuff out of that playbook. But, I think defensively for Utah, there's a lot of disguise and a lot of trickery that's going to go down in this game pre-snap. And I think that's what I think potentially could lead to an Alan Bowman interception.
How much or how often or how willing is Mike Gundy to allow his offense to play in the spread, to throw the ball all over the place? Because I have a hard time believing that Ollie Gordon runs for 75 yards in this game. I have a hard time believing that. And I think you're if that's who you are, am I making too much out of Ollie Gordon's struggles?
I don't think we're making too much out of it. I think it's a huge question in this game. I mean, obviously, if you're an Oklahoma State fan, you're feeling much better about this game. If Ollie Gordon had, let's say 300 yards on the ground already, if he had, big numbers on the ground in these first couple of warm-up games, if you will, before conference play starts, like I think you'd be feeling better. But so no, I don't think you're making too big a deal out of it at all. I mean, I think Ollie Gordon was one of your biggest sources of offense last year, and he just hasn't been here for it. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know if it's an injury they're not talking about, or if it's that, the offseason stuff that he went through by his own doing, obviously. but all the offseason nonsense that he went through, if that like changed him somehow, like I don't know where this dude went, but he was the best running back in the Big 12 last year, and now he's nowhere to be found.
And you haven't really faced a potent defense. And I just there's something wrong. There's something wrong. I'm not buying it. I don't care how many guys are in the box. Ollie Gordon's too talented to be. I believe he's 2.6 yards a carry in his last 2 games.
Well, and again,
how
even if there are 8-9 guys in the box, you should on some level be able to run outside and leverage his athletic ability. I mean,
I would think so.
This is not a guy who is like some bull that likes to just beat you with strength. I mean, he has strength. He can run over a guy, certainly. But the best part about his game is his athletic ability and his ability to either outrun you or his ability to make you miss. And I think that Ollie Gordon, for whatever reason, just hasn't had the starts of the season that he wanted to. But I also think we need to be saying that, by any competitor's standard here, you're showing up for this game. This is,
you are,
if you're Oklahoma State, with all due respect, this is your game of the year right here. This is your Super Bowl. And I think that for Utah, it's an interesting situation because I don't think this is their game of the year. I just think they know they have to go out and get this one, mainly because they've played in so many big games. And so I think the word like pressure or expectations here is an interesting one when you think about like where Oklahoma State is at in their season versus where Utah is at in their season and how we've gotten to this point. Because like you were saying, the Utah State game was kind of a crazy game early on, right? I mean, you had the Isaac Wilson situation. They get behind in the game.
Yeah.
Then the defense makes some plays, that big hit over the middle, then that game kind of turns. So like I was saying yesterday, Utah can't afford to get off to a slow start in this game like they did against Utah State. And I know every Utah fan is like, well, that's not a fair comparison. It was Isaac Wilson. What I'm here to tell you is it is a fair comparison because Isaac Wilson wasn't the reason on his own you got off to a slow start. He had nothing to do with you getting beat over the top in the secondary. He had nothing to do with any of that. And that can't happen in this game. I'm
really interested, and I can't find it. I meant to look before the show, but I forgot. I don't know if Karene Reed for Utah is going to play. He missed the Utah State game. The fine linebacker for the Utes, who, shocked the world when he came back this year, I think, most of us. But I think he's another key contributor to watch. And I just don't know if he's going to play. And frankly, I haven't seen an update on it. And I think it is I think that is a huge, huge deal. But let's get to picking it. I'm leaning towards Oak State here. I think you have to lean Oak State in this game. And I think that it's tough to go to Boone Pickens and win. I think that's overwhelmingly that's where I'm at. And we haven't seen Cam Rising play a full game in over 2 years. I think it dates back to the conference championship game 2 years ago. That was his last full game. We haven't seen him play a full game. And I think there are more questions about the health. And if Karene Reed is out, which I'm guessing he is because we didn't get an update saying he's not. If Karene Reed does not play in this game, he is such a stud. Yeah. That he's so, and I love Lander and I love that defensive front. I actually think the front's held up very well here. I think this is going to be a high 30s game because I think it's going to be a shootout. I'm not confident the Utes can cover, but I know for a fact Oak State can't cover. And I think that this is going to be, to what you said earlier, if Alan Bowman throws an interception, the Utes will win. Mm-hmm. I think that if I am picking this game, I think it's 38-34. 38. I think if Oak State surpasses 30 points, they're going to win the game. I think they will. I think it's 38-34, 38-37. Okay.
Yeah, I guess I have a very different view of this game. I think that Alan Bowman is going to make mistakes in this game, and I don't even think it's going to be that his play is awful because I think he'll be really solid. I just give the Ute defense a lot of credit for what they're able to do. And they're so specific matchup to matchup that I think you never know what you're going to get scheme wise out of them. You never know. They are always showing you something new that you haven't seen. So for me, the way I think this game is going to go is, like I said, I think, whoever scores first, that's going to be a huge part of this game. If Oklahoma State's playing from in front, obviously they're going to have a better chance. But what I think is going to happen is I think Utah is going to play this game from in front. I think that Utah will be leading at the half by 3 points. I think they will get a turnover in the second half that will change the momentum of the game. And I think they ultimately win this game probably 35-28. And I think I don't think Oak State crosses 30 points in this game. And I think it's largely due to two things. I think Utah is going to run effectively. And I think there's going to be a turnover by Alan Bowman in this game. And it's going to cost you points.
I think I can see it. I'll be honest with you. I spent a lot of time last night trying to find different angles on this game. I mean, doing some projections with everybody being healthy on Utah's offense. And if Cam Rising plays and that finger's not an issue, I could see Utah scoring 40 points in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even being sensational.
But I think his health and not just heading into the game, I think his ability to play the whole game is a big narrative, a big thing to pay attention to. Like, I wasn't kidding when I said, like, if I'm Oklahoma State, I'm watching that Baylor tape and I'm saying, hey, when Cam Rising leaks out, if we have that opportunity, we don't want to take a penalty. But if we have the opportunity,
got to put a hat on him.
We got to hit him.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah, I at one point had this 41-28 Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just start I start going into this thing where, can Utah cover? That's my biggest question.
In the secondary, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that I believe, and I think if it's not in your DNA, you should go to your doctor. Kyle Whittingham and this incarnation of Utah under Kyle Whittingham always gets to the quarterback. Always. And you look at Logan Fano, and you probably don't even know his name. Logan Fano is a stud. As long as his ACLs are intact, and he has had multiple ACL injuries. When Logan Fano plays, he plays at a high level, and he gets after the quarterback. Alan Bowman's not hard to find. And Logan Fano, Van Fillinger, you look at this defense, they have done they've done a really good job getting after the quarterback so far. It's called Sack Lake City for a reason. I can see this being this could be one of the best football games of the year.
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating.
I'm confident in my pick. I feel very confident that this Utah defense will generate a turnover and they will be able to run the football against Oklahoma State's defense. And if you do those two things and Cam Rising, because if you're running the football, the problem is if Utah's running the football, they're going to eat clock. We've seen them do this like in the Baylor game again. And I know it was garbage time. I know everyone says, oh, it was garbage time, end of the game. Dude, they ran the ball against the ones on Baylor to end that game for 5 straight minutes. And that's a big deal.
My only concern here is Cam Rising's health, because I would love to get your thoughts in the comment section. These two teams, if everybody's 100% and healthy and ready to play, they're almost dead even. But Utah's got a far better defense. They're more talented. They are better up front. Their linebackers are better. I think schematically, Morgan Scalley and Kyle Whittingham are two of the best defensive minds in all of college football.
Who has a better offense right now? This Oak State team or last year's USC team? Who's got a better offense? Okay, well, last year's USC team. Who's the more mobile quarterback?
That's tough.
Caleb Williams was the more mobile quarterback, and they got to him repeatedly. So I'm just telling you, like, I'm not a Utah fan, but Oklahoma State fan is going to find out in this game. And I understand it's in Stillwater, tough place to play. Okay, tough environment. That should all be fine and dandy for Utah.
But it's interesting you bring that up, though, and I don't mean to cut you off. I've watched a lot of Oklahoma State offense tape, a lot of it. I like what Alan Bowman's doing. But the talent that he has faced defensively has been so bad. I know I've picked this for Oklahoma State to win, and I'm vacillating back and forth. I totally get it, but the volume of plays where Stribling is just running free is shocking. The idea that they've got two really good wide receivers, and Alan Bowman is a guy, if his receiver is open, he's going to put it on him. I don't think you're going to have that luxury against do you guys understand that Utah's defense is the best defense they've seen in 2 years? And I'm including Texas. This is the best defense that this group at Oklahoma State will have faced. And Alan Bowman, I don't think, and I think Oklahoma State fan does not respect the Utah defense.
Yeah.
Just simply does not respect them. And I think on the flip side of that, I think Alan Bowman has played better than we give him credit for. But here's where the rubber meets the road. Offensively, you're not creative at Oak State. You are in too many situations against Arkansas. You were so conservative. And because guys were getting home, and again, I think Alan Bowman does a good job of getting rid of the football, but because guys were getting home, he was making terrible decisions. What's going to happen when you have Utah's ends and they're doing those twists? Because Utah we have not seen disguise. And having watched every single one of Utah's snaps now, we have not seen almost any disguise in the Utah defense. You guys understand that?
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about for Oak State's offense.
Utah has not put disguise on tape this season. And you can go back and look at it. All you have seen from Utah's defense is show me 8 guys, drop out, rush 3. Show me 8 guys, drop out, rush 6.
Right.
That's it. You haven't seen, how many corner blitzes have you seen out of Utah this year? How many times have we seen a twist inside? How many times have we seen Logan Fano reroute and come through the A or the B? We haven't seen a lot of disguise out of this Utah defense, and I'm telling you right now, you're going to see it this weekend. You are going to see, Alan Bowman is going to see fronts that he thinks he's seen on tape that are not what he's seen on tape. And that is my question. That Arkansas performance terrifies me in picking Oklahoma State. I can't, because the Tulsa game, Tulsa is just not talented.
Yeah.
Throw that game out.
Not a fair measure.
Southern Utah is not talented. Throw that game out.
Yep.
The Arkansas game terrifies me because you know what else happened in that game that nobody wants to talk about? Ollie Gordon looked disinterested. They didn't see 9-10 guys in the box against Arkansas. Did they see 7-8 guys? Yes, they did. They didn't bring the kitchen sink to stop Ollie Gordon. And when did Ollie Gordon really impact that game? Overtime. That's when he impacted that game. That Arkansas tape terrifies me.
So that's what I'm saying. I would expect Ollie Gordon. I would expect to get a full dose of Ollie Gordon if I'm Utah's defense. I would expect Ollie Gordon to show up. Like I would expect his best. And you know, I don't know. I'm just more confident that Kyle Whittingham's defense will win the matchup versus Oklahoma State's offense winning a matchup against the best defense that they've seen. That's why I picked the Utes. And I know everyone's gonna say, "Oh, it's a Utah show. So is this show?" Like, I'm not even a Utah fan. I'm not. It has nothing to do with that. I'm looking at it and I'm saying, "Hey, like your quarterback, while yes, he'll hit an open guy, your quarterback isn't enough of an X factor to overcome the pressure he's gonna see. He can't run away from anybody. He's not going anywhere. You know, so you're not gonna escape the pressure." Are you going to be able to run the football? If they can run the football, I think this is going to be a much closer game. I think if you're running the football effectively with Ollie, this could come like right down to it. But I don't know, man. I don't see it. I don't see 120-yard game on the ground for Ollie Gordon, mainly because you don't have the offensive line to do that to the Utes defense. And so for that reason, that's what I'm saying. I just, Cam Rising doesn't have to be all world in this game. What Cam Rising needs to be is good enough. He needs to do his damn job and stay healthy and not turn the football over. And if he does that, I think they win the game by, probably 5 to 8 points, a 34, 34-35 for Utah, 27-28 for Oklahoma State. That is the kind of game that I think will play out.
Yeah. Alan Bowman is an average ass quarterback. And it is going to be very interesting to see because he's going to have to throw for 300 yards for them to win this game. That's what they're going to force him to do. And listen, we probably spent too much time on it. I'm not going to change. I think 38-34 Oak State. And I would put a 35% confidence rating on that. I'm not confident in that at all. Now, when I see Utah come out on the field for their offense the first time around, I'm going to feel differently about that pick. I almost guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it is cost prohibitive. You are an endangered species betting against this Utah defense.
Yeah.
And I understand that they have not won big ranked opponent games on the road consistently, but that's a non-conference stat. This team knows how to go to USC and win. This team knows how to go to Arizona a couple of years ago and win. This team knows how to go on the road and win big games. And I think that, in my opinion, this is going to be one of the games of the year. All right, let's go. Put it in the comment section. Score predictions for the Oklahoma State-Utah game. You see the line, and again, a lot of people have asked me over the last 2 days. I did an interview yesterday on Oklahoma City radio being asked about why I thought the line changed so much. And I can tell you straight away, I haven't got a clue on this earth as to why that line flipped so much. Because Utah all week long has said straight across the board, Cam Rising is going to play. If Cam Rising plays and he is capable, they're going to win the game. He's that much of an X factor. When Cam Rising's right, he's arguably the best quarterback in the entire country. And I don't think we know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Karene Reed being out is a real concern for me because that cat's a stud. But again, Oak State's got big injuries at linebacker as well. Calford gifted 5 Monty Show memberships. Let's go, Calford. Appreciate you. Who's first one in this morning? Let's see. Mountain Mama, Mike Smith. It's Friday. How the hell do you get fired on your day off?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Mike, did you lose your job? Hit that like button. Yes, please do. What's up? Real Pete Forte, Daniel Dixon, Lopes Van Gabe. Yes, please hit the like button. The Buffalo Hunter. Dorian Singer's got to have an impact on this game because I think Money Parks is a guy that almost nobody knows who he is. Money Parks needs a running mate. And to this point, he has not had that. And I think, for those of you who don't know, and I know I don't know Cody Ford, and I'm just, I don't do you even want.
Little Marty over here.
Brant Keithy is a wide receiver, not a tight end. Lines up at tight end, totally understand that. They run him out of wide receiver sets more often than they don't. And I think if you can have Singer, Parks, and Brant Keithy, I don't know how this Oklahoma State defense has not shown you they can cover that. And then you throw the ball to Dijon Stanley in the flat. This Oak State defense has not this year shown you that they can stop that. And I think that is that's a pretty big deal, in my opinion. So I think that's going to be a big part of the game. Scott, a Graywater watch. Oak State 24, Utah 21. If it's under 50, I think Utah wins the game. The only way Oklahoma State wins this game is if it is a shootout and things get wrecked.
Yeah. Chaos ensues.
Yeah, I think you got to have a shootout.
Yeah.
If it's a low-scoring game. Damian Fowler, a healthy Cam is better than Shedeur. I would not say that. I think we've never, and I don't know that we will see the best of Shedeur Sanders because they don't have an offensive line.
Yeah.
I think Shedeur Sanders' arm talent is the best in the country. But that offensive line masks that. So, D-Rock Irish, hello. 28-24, Utah. Okay. CD, 31-28, Utah wins Old Fart Bowl presented by Life Alert. Okay. 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 Force Ghost Fabio, Oak State 24, Utah 17. Where do you guys get a defensive struggle? And I'm being serious. Somebody explain to me how this projects out, because I've tried to find it. That Oak State secondary is not good. Yeah. And the line, the other thing with the linebackers, when they were healthy, didn't cover well, which is something that, and we talked about the Big 12 defensive rankings. And you look at these numbers, it's not good for Oak State. Oak State cannot cover the pass. And in today's college football, you've got to have linebackers that can cover. And you look at Oak State, they're giving up on defense. They are giving up 54.2% completions. They are averaging 7.6 yards per completion. And they're giving up 305 yards a game against the pass.
Against who?
And so I'm asking, how do you reconcile this as an under 50 game? In the total combined score under 50.
Yeah, I think the over-under should be much closer to 60.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because if we're being honest, you look at the Utes on defense, far superior in the pass defense. Far superior. You look at 3 games, they're giving up an average of 45.5% completions, under 50%. Do you know how difficult that is? It's why they're the number 1 completion percentage defense in the conference, Utah. You look at the fact that they're only giving up 143 yards. You want to chalk that up to competition? I'm with you on that. But you're giving up more than double what Utah's giving up. That's not good. And you haven't played good competition. So I'm a little concerned about that. As I think if you're an Oak State fan, you should be. Because you are dead last in pass defense.
Right. And
that should be concerning. The other thing is you're 13th out of 16th in run defense.
See, and that's the one that for me, I'm not trying to be harsh, but that's inexcusable, man, with who you've played. I mean, how are you, I understand, hey, if you're struggling in the pass defense, I get it. But run defense, like,
that's surprising.
It's surprising. It's underwhelming. And I think, I'm just telling you, like, if you haven't watched the Utah tape, I would encourage you to get on YouTube and go watch it. Go look what they did to Utah State. Go look at what they did against Baylor. So, okay, hey, Utah State, not good. Okay, fine. Baylor is a lower end team in the Big 12, but still a Power 4 team. Still a team that can compete in the Big 12. They're not going to win, but they can compete with you. They put that team in the ground. They manhandled that team. Like that's what concerns me is that you can't stop the run or the pass effectively against a team that just went out and showed us 2 weeks ago that they can manhandle a Power 4 team.
And how are you giving up 4.4 yards a carry?
Yeah. Like you can't have it both ways. You can't say Tulsa sucks and then be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
The best team you faced ran Jaquindon Jackson ran all over you. And their numbers, I try not to get too far into statistics, but you haven't played good opponents and you're giving up 157 yards a game on the ground.
So we're supposed to believe going into, again, what I would deem is the biggest game on your schedule. There's not a bigger game for Oklahoma State on the schedule. No, so you're going into your biggest game of the year And we're supposed to believe that you're just going to turn it on, that you're going to hit a switch with Ollie Gordon. You're going to hit a switch and run and pass defense. You're going to hit a switch and pass pro for Alan Bowman.
My original projection here was 41-28 Utah.
Yeah. And I, not criticizing, but I am surprised that you're going with Oklahoma State. I think it's a risky pick.
I need to see Cam Rising. I need to see it. I need to see him perform. That's that. And I'm worried about Karene Reed being out. But again, this is an Oak State offense that against lesser opponents has only run for 112 yards a game. And you're giving up 157 yards a game.
Now, that's one where you've only run for that a game. That's one where I'm like, all right, I could see
3.4 yards a carry.
I could see them bumping that up to 4 yards a carry in this game. I can see that. I can see, hey, it's time to go. Ollie Gordon's going to wake up. Like
you're fighting the wrong fight, though.
Well,
what is this? What in run defense specifically? Offensive rushing ability. What do those two stats tell you about your football team? You're either good in the trenches or you're not. If you're giving up more rushing yards a game than you are getting, you're not good in the trenches. Utah rushes for 192 yards a game. Do you think Utah's defense has given up 192 yards a game on the ground? They're not. They're fifth best against the run in the conference at 109 yards. They're good in the trenches. And their offensive line is suspect. And they're much better statistically than Oak State is. And again, I think statistics in football paint pictures. Your rushing margins, are you giving up more than you're getting? You're not good in the trenches. Yeah. That's what, and
I agree.
I started this preview today talking about what about the Oak State defense? They're a 3-3-5, and they use those five guys as a shell.
But why? I think it's a great point. Why? Think about why you would run a 3-3-5. Why would you run a 3-3-5 versus running a traditional 4-3 in college football?
Because you're worried about the pass. You are trying to cover the pass.
And you're counting on the fact that those six guys up front, your three down linemen and your three linebackers, can do a good enough job stopping the run.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you, when Utah has their big guys in the run package, two tight ends, full offensive line, running back in the backfield, obviously, like you're going to have a tough time stopping that. And one thing that really I think you will see a good bit of in this game out of Kyle Whittingham, especially on second and intermediate, like 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, you're going to see they're going to show you a run look. They're going to show you, hey, two tight ends, running back, we're going to run this. And then what are they going to do? They're going to play action the hell out of you. And Brant Keithy's going to be open 8 yards down the field, and then he's going to run for 5 more after contact. And that's the kind of play that I think is really difficult, not just for Oak State, but for anybody to stop.
38-34. I'm going to stick with it until I see Cam Rising on that first drive. Because I think those are my two numbers. And my official pick is 38-34 Oak State. I could see this. My original projection was 41-28 Utah.
35-27 Utah.
All right, there you go. There you go.
What are the people saying?
Let's see. Brandon Butler. If Tulsa can blow Oak State off the line, Utah is going to road grade them. Oak State is surprisingly not good in the trenches. I don't disagree with that. I don't. Mike Smith, Oak State 37, Utah 17. Okay. If Cam plays, Utah 31, Oak State 20. He will. I have no question he's going to play. It's at what level? He's got a gash on his throwing hand. That's the biggest issue. It was in the Baylor game. It was a dirty ass play where he was going to the sideline and the defensive lineman pushed him while they were already out of bounds.
Yeah, they cleaned him up.
Cam went into the Gatorade compound and has a gash on his throwing hand. And he did not play last week against Utah State. I was told directly that he would have played. If it was a game of consequence, he would have played. Isaac Wilson looked terrible early in that game and looked awesome in the second quarter forward.
Yeah.
So Cam didn't need to play.
I think you're going to see Cam. There's no way for Cam to be 100%, right? Obviously, he's not going to be 100%, but I do think you're like 80, 90%. I think he's had, obviously what would this be? His
14th day,
14th
day tomorrow.
So, you're talking about rested, no contact last week, didn't take any big hits, body's fully rested. You should be fine.
Sal Capone, 31-17, Utah. Caleb Aylmore, 37-24, because my heart needs it. Okay. Okay, Case Sumbry, Oak State has played better opponents than Utah thus far and looked worse doing it. I would agree that – I don't know that I can agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
I think Arkansas and Baylor are pretty equal.
Yeah.
And I think Utah – they were significantly better than Baylor.
Utah State's better than Tulsa. Would we agree with
I
that?
would agree with that.
And by the way,
South Dakota State's a good football team.
I'd like to point out Bryson Barnes is Utah State's starting quarterback. He knows the Utah defense.
You mean the pig farmer?
The pig farmer. Everyone's All-American last year. Yeah, that guy.
41-28 is crazy, Monty. It's not crazy. And again, I'm not trying to be sensational or tell you, hey, I'm a big deal. I've watched every snap of Utah football multiple times, and I have seen a ton of tape. Go back and watch the Arkansas game, Kay.
Yeah.
Actually don't, because you won't sleep well. You go back and you look at, and all the tape is on YouTube. It's not hard to get. That Arkansas tape is terrifying because you looked like trash in the secondary. You had multiple, there were multiple plays. And it happened against Tulsa as well, which is even more shocking, where you on defense had a clear run formation out of Arkansas. Clear run formation. You had an offset tight end, motion to the middle, and then motion back to the right. They hand the ball to Jaquindon, and you have DBs running down the field. And the tight end motioned back, sealed the edge, and Jaquindon Jackson is 15 yards up the field before you even knew he was running the ball.
Now, admittedly, in all fairness, I agree with all that. Jaquindon Jackson is explosive as hell.
Yes, he is.
He is fast. He is explosive. His first step is better than yours. He can outrun almost anybody. And Mekhi Bernard is not that guy. Mekhi Bernard is, hey, I lift weights. I'm going to run you the hell over guy. And so maybe that helps Oak State's defense. But I would agree, when it's a clear running formation and your DBs are not doing what they should be doing, that's cause for concern.
And the other thing that's been pervasive over 3 games, a lack of communication in the secondary. You can see there were several plays, especially against Arkansas and especially against Tulsa on the Tulsa touchdown, I believe it was. You just had miscommunication there. Where you thought in it twice against Arkansas, you thought there was a guy over the top in the second half. And Oak State's defense in the second half against Arkansas was measurably better. You still had miscommunication in the secondary. And you're not a good cover defense in any way, shape, or form. CD, Cam smoked the athletic trainer too when he got shoved. Poor girl never saw it coming. It was an ugly play.
Yeah.
Thomas Reed, 33-17, Utah. Okay. Cam juicing up on the Ensure and popping the Centrum Silvers. Just an old man reference. He's on that. He's on that Depends a lot.
Mike, you're having a day so far, dude. I appreciate you.
Scott of Greywater Watch. Nebraska tonight. USC takes out Big Blue, and Tennessee gets a win in Norman. We'll get to that. Tennessee. Well, but Tennessee's not a blue blood.
Remember. Yeah, I mean, what the hell are you talking about, dude?
The Dakota teams could be competitive in a lot of non-Power 5 conferences. But should they be competitive against a team like Oak State that is selling us on being a conference champion?
No. They
shouldn't be.
But they were.
And I think that matters. That Arkansas game was really bad, I will admit. And
And again, notice, I want to point something out because I respect you, Kay. I understand you're an Oak State guy. I get it. But notice what we're not saying here. We're not saying, Oklahoma State sucks, or they're just terrible, or they're embarrassed. We're not saying that. What we're saying is, if you watch the film will tell you there are issues that have been taking place in that secondary
that haven't gotten fixed.
Yeah, and so whether your name is Jaquindon Jackson or Money Parks, does it really matter if you have acres of room in your secondary because the over the top coverage the cornerback thought was there is actually not there and is on the other side of the field trying to corral Brant Keithy? Like, that's the problem. That's what I'm personally concerned about. I don't think that Utah is miles better than Oklahoma State. What my confidence in my pick stems from the fact that I don't worry about Utah having miscommunications on defense. I don't worry about, Lander Barton, running to the wrong side of the field pre-snap. Like, I don't worry about those things happening.
Yeah.
And so if your defense, and this is just a generality for football, any of the football you watch this weekend, when a defense is disciplined enough to just be where they're supposed to be within the scheme, just be on your spot of the field, you're not going to put up 400 yards of passing offense, man.
And I think the other thing that if you're an Oklahoma State fan, watch for this one thing, because I think it will determine who wins the first half and likely the game. How effective are Utah tight ends at sealing the edge in the short passing game? Because when you look at one of the staples of this Utah offense is the swing pass to the flat to Bernard or Stanley. And one of the keys that Utah uses there is Brant Keithy and whoever's at that tight end sealing that side. And furthermore, how good is the edge from Utah in the run game? Because I think if Bernard's able to get to the linebackers, the Oak State is cooked. Oak State is cooked. Sam Locke, good morning, casuals. Hello.
I wonder too, to that point, if we see a departure from the 3-3-5 at certain points in this game. Do we see Oklahoma State? Maybe you keep, the DB shell, right? But maybe you're on certain situations, down in distance, right? Obviously. But maybe you see them bring down some of those DBs into the box to help with run defense. I mean, I can't believe that Mike Gundy is going to stand there on the sideline and watch Utah early in this game do what they do, running the football, and he's not going to bring more.
Kendall Daniels is the guy that I think you have to have a big game from. I mean, he's a guy that's athletic. He's fast. He's got obviously he used to be a safety, so he's a downhill player. He's excellent at the line of scrimmage and 2 yards deep into the backfield. Kendall Daniels is absolutely a disruptor for them. So I think he's a guy that I'd be watching. But again, I think that's the prototypical guy against a really scheme sound and aggressive group of tight ends that know how to seal an edge and know how to pin down and what Utah does really well with their tight ends, when they seal that edge, they take your defensive end, your linebacker, and they pin him against your defensive tackle. And so there is 1.5 yards, 2 yards there for the running back to go by. And if that's allowed to go on, if that happens consistently, you're going to see that 3-3-5, like a 5-3 in on first and second, you're going to have at least.
Yeah.
And that's where you get in trouble with the Utes, because Cam Rising is actually a pretty damn effective play action passer as well.
So you guys see what I mean? If Utah is allowed to run the football like that and the defense has to come closer to the line, you are asking for a Money Parks bomb in the first half.
Brandon Butler, if Bernard is getting to the second level, who in the secondary is going to tackle him? That's a great point, because too often Oak State's running away with their back to the line of scrimmage. UW fan Jim, am I in the doghouse?
Well, I mean, you are a Washington fan. Like,
is that what you're referencing? See what he did
he's
there.
in the doghouse. It's the dog. See what he did.
Gumby says no. Okay.
I think he was joking.
I think he was joking.
Yeah.
I think Oak State was a bit overhyped.
I don't know about that. I think
Oak State's solid.
Yeah, I think Oak State, Oak State uniquely is one of those teams where it really depends where you live in how you view them. Like, I think if you're in the Midwest, you're favoring Oklahoma State in this game. You see them more. You don't see
Utah at all.
You don't see Utah at all. Like I think, yeah, and this is why we both said multiple times today, get your ass on YouTube after the show and watch the tape. Like, go and watch the film. It's not hard to find it, and watch it play by play. Take your time. Look at the pre-snap versus where the ball goes versus where your defense should be going.
Gumby says LSU better drop 70 this weekend. What is our level of confidence in Brian Kelly at LSU? Because mine's not high. I'm going to be honest with you. As a scarred Notre Dame fan, my confidence
was it
in
the Alabama game?
Well, he's got UCLA and Death Valley this weekend.
Notre Dame, our mother.
There's nothing to believe that his 22.5-point number should be in jeopardy. I agree. Remember, I told you the secondary worried me? You did.
Yeah.
Brandon Butler, my only concern is if Utah gets too conservative. Kyle can keep opponents in the game by not going for the throat. That's absolutely been a
great
trademark.
observation.
Yes. Stepanik, I would run a 5-2 against Utah. You'll get torched. You have to be flexible. You have to be an amoeba defense. Be pliable, be flexible. But I think when you're down 2 linebackers and you don't have a talented secondary, it's difficult to do that. It's difficult to ask guys to make plays that they're not comfortable making.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on to some other games. I'm working on it. We have a lot of comments today.
Yes.
Tom Dean gifts 5 Monty Show memberships.
Appreciate you, Tom.
Thank you. Calford gifts 10 more Monty Show memberships. Wow. My Notre Dame trauma says Kelly will wreck LSU eventually.
They're not in danger of losing this game.
He will. I agree. I agree. All right. Let's go Tennessee, Oklahoma, because this game is fascinating.
Yes.
Oklahoma's a dog at 6.5. Look at the
Right.
number. 56.5, ABC and ESPN.
I think it's proper. Before getting into the fine details of this game, I think when you look at Tennessee and Oklahoma in the big picture as programs this year, I think that number is proper. I think this has shootout written all over it. I think all the donkeys 2 weeks ago saying that, Tennessee is not good and, they're terrible and, they're not a blue blood. Well, I think they're proving you wrong. I think that Tennessee is a problem. Where are they? Where were they in the AP this week? Weren't they like 500 or set like top 10 team?
Jake, stop. You and I both know Tennessee's not a blue blood. There's no way.
I know. They're Garbo.
Garbo, please.
Yes.
There's no way that they would be playing on primetime, 7:30 Eastern.
Thank you.
ABC. Or that they would be ranked 6th in the polls.
And I know Josh Heupel is not anything to write home about. He's Garbo too, and he's terrible and doesn't know how to coach a football team. I get it. But I'm telling you, this has, for me, Oklahoma State, Utah is the best football game, pure football game on the calendar this week. This game has entertainment written all over it.
Simple question. Is Jackson Arnold that guy? Quarterback at Oklahoma, I think it's the only thing that matters because I think Tennessee's coming for the air.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if Jackson Arnold can't handle the heat, they're cooked. Because I don't believe, an Oklahoma fan, I'm sorry to tell you, Brent Venables ain't that dude. And I think that you are in real trouble here. I hate this matchup for Oklahoma. And I think that you better show me you can run the football. You better show me you can convert on 3rd down. And you better show me that Jackson Arnold's the quarterback that you're all telling us he is, because I haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's cause for concern. And I think, just like we wanted to play this game the whole week of, Monty, Utah and Oak State are holding things back. That's what everyone's saying about Oklahoma, that Jackson Arnold and company have been holding back and waiting for SEC play to start and waiting for the big games to get here because they didn't want to put everything they had on tape. So if that's the case, it's time to ball out, bro. It's time to show that you're that guy, because what I will say is Oklahoma is certainly, in terms of SEC and rankings in the conference, is certainly outgunned by most of the SEC teams they play. And they're going to have to execute at a really high level to be in a lot of these games, because I know for certain that Tennessee offense is capable of dropping 35 on you without trying too hard.
I don't think this is a complicated game. As complex as Oak State, Utah was, this is not complex. Who's going to win on third down? You're looking at Tennessee, the number 2 defense in the country on third down, and you're looking at one of the worst Power 4, programs on third down this year in Oklahoma. If Oklahoma doesn't convert on third down, Tennessee is going to walk away from this game with 35, 40 points.
Yeah.
My guess is that's likely to happen. I think both teams will score. I think this is probably a race to 30. I think it's 35-24. Tennessee's going to win the game.
Yeah, I think it's a little wider than that. I think it's 38-21 Tennessee. I think Tennessee is energetic. Ooh. I think Tennessee is explosive. I think that Tennessee has an opportunity in this game to flex on some people nationally. The infamous soccer writer in, Connecticut or Minnesota or wherever who doesn't actually watch football is going to know about Tennessee this week. And I do believe Tennessee is one of those teams that people don't want to give credit to. And I'm not saying they're the best in the country or anything like that. But what I am saying is they're better than you're giving them credit for. And Oklahoma's a big enough brand where if you beat them handily, people will start paying attention. So for Tennessee, I think this is a game where you need to put up 35, 38 points, and you need to get yourself in that picture nationally.
It's Norman. It's Memorial.
Yeah.
I have a tough time seeing a boat race here. I think that Tennessee is significantly better. And I think this defense is probably undersold. This is their best test so far. I look at what Tennessee at 6.5 points. It's a pretty simple equation. Do they win by a touchdown? I think they do. The way that they dismantled North Carolina State was not accidental. I think you look at what they have coming. They're just tuning up for Alabama in October.
Right.
Because you've got Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Florida. I don't even know that Billy Napier will still be the coach when we get to Tennessee, Florida.
And that's a legitimate question.
And that party is unbelievable. But will Billy Napier be invited? I don't know. But I know this. As far as confidence picks goes, this is my most confident pick. I think Tennessee is significantly better than Oklahoma. And I don't think Jackson Arnold has seen this yet. And it's shocking to say, but I do think that this is a touchdown win for Tennessee. And it could be more, but I'm comfortable saying, yeah, they're going to win by a touchdown. I got Tennessee all day.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that keeps this game close is Tennessee throwing interceptions. You had 2 against NC State, a team that you beat 51-10. They weren't great interceptions in my opinion, but I'm extremely confident. I think that this is. I don't disagree. It's Norman. You're on the road, but if you can drop 51 on the road against NC State, you sure as hell can drop 38, 35 in Norman, and that's why I think the minus. What did you say? It's 6.5 now for Tennessee. They're going to cover that all day, and I think the only question is, does Oklahoma get to 27 points?
Be nice. Does Oklahoma start its trail of tears in the SEC this weekend? It's American history right there. Jake has no idea what that's a reference to. Tennessee is going to boat race OU. Kirk Mason, Tennessee game has a storyline. It does. But do you really think they're going to go to Norman and boat race the Sooners?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
The only reason I say that is because, again, we're in that time of year where everyone's like, oh, well, you haven't played anybody. Dude, they're dropping 60, 70 points on teams and doing it comfortably. Again, I know NC State's nothing to write home about, but that's a ranked team in that game. 24th in the nation, and you drop 51 on them at their place. Like, I'm fine to. I feel pretty comfortable saying they're going to be 35 plus in this game. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I think that is definitely possible, and I we'll see. Proof is in the pudding. Maybe I'm losing my touch. Daniel Dixon, Tennessee 35-21. Thomas Reed, it'll be a shootout that is decided in the last 2-3 minutes of the game. Calford, the Vols got this. 42-21 Tennessee. 48-21 Tennessee. 45-10. But you're an Oak State fan. 45-10 Tennessee.
Chill.
49-28. 35-17.
Why don't we just throw up like 1,500-4 in some of these predictions, man.
God
Come on,
damn. 42-24. Nico has a big game. Yes, I agree. Napier should be gone now, Thomas.
Yeah.
Game can be close for the first half. Then second, Tennessee pushes Oklahoma to the side. Okay. No, Calford, don't motorboat the Sooners. That could be. I think that's a felony in most states. But, 37-24 Vols. Man, okay. Big Blue Horses. Word out of Florida is Napier makes it to the UCF game, then we'll be done. But nothing is certain. Florida doesn't have a president, and there are serious doubts about the AD. Yes, there are.
As there should be.
And I don't think that you want the boosters running the program there.
Yeah.
And I think there's a chance of that.
Yeah.
Arizona State at Texas Tech.
Ooh.
Jake, I didn't want to do this game.
Mm-hmm.
Jake wanted to do this game.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to do this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is the Big 12 opener for both. I think Arizona State has a legitimate chance to win this game and go 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
I said Arizona State has a legitimate chance. Kenny Dillingham has a legitimate chance to be 4-0 as the head coach at Arizona State this year.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's absolutely impressive.
It's not going to happen, but he's got a chance.
Dude,
he's got a chance.
I swear to God, if you sit here and pick Joey and they get boat raced in this game, we got to have conversations about Joey on Monday if they lose this game.
We do. They won't because they'll never fire him, apparently. Baron Morton is all you need to talk about in this game because it's Baron versus that Arizona State defense. 4 touchdown passes. It is what it's going to take. It's going to take a minimum of 28 points to win this game.
Yeah.
It's probably going to take 35 to win this game.
Yeah.
And I think all day long, Jake, the Texas Tech offense has that.
Yeah, and I think that this game, this is the game for me that has shootout written all over it. I like Kenny. I like what they're doing at Arizona State. But you're also still in that first year of growth. This is really the first year where Kenny's been able to get some traction, get off to a better start. Really be in some of these games and win more games than I think people assumed ASU would. And so for me, looking at this game, like I look at Texas Tech and I say, hey, Baron Morton can really sling it. Baron Morton can throw it all over the field, and I would fully expect to see that in this game. I also think when you look at the running back room for Texas Tech, you're getting healthy now, and so for me, if Texas Tech is able to throw it around the field, they're able to run the football. I would expect them to be able to cover a 3.5 point number for them. I'd expect them, to win this game, 35, 28, something like that, a back and forth game where you keep control and pull it out in the end. That's what I would expect out of this game. But make no mistake about it. If you're Joey McGuire going into this football game, you can't lose this one. This is one where I know Texas Tech has struggled a little bit, but this is a game that you need to win. And I know I keep bringing this up, but for the Big 12 as a conference, this is one of those games to pay attention to because this is, again, a new member in the conference in Arizona State going up against the old guard in the Big 12. And if we continue to see the new teams, the new kids on the block, beating the hell out of the old guard in the Big 12, that's not a great look. And so for that reason, for me, the Big 12 needs Texas Tech to win this one.
Well, I also think that the best running back in the conference is Taj Brooks. And how do I know that? Because he didn't play against Washington State and Texas Tech looked terrible.
Yeah.
And I think what we saw in the first half last week is exactly why I'm picking Texas Tech to win this game. I think Taj Brooks is dynamic. I think he's really important, and I think he's healthy, or at least healthy enough to play. And I think Baron Morton's a significantly more lethal quarterback when Taj Brooks is in the game, and he will be. And I think that Kenny Dillingham is doing great things at Arizona State. Don't get me wrong. But when you look at the fact that this game's at Jones AT&T, there's going to be tortillas thrown all over the place. All we're going to hear is pew, 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 pew.
Right.
Like we're going to get cray.
Right. Cray.
I should stop. The Red Raiders are looking for their 600th win in program history, and they're going to get it. I think when you look at this, this night, Joey McGuire has to have a win here. He has got to start winning games. This is where conference play starts. It's where the season really kicks off. And you better hope it's a reset, because Texas Tech, I will say again, you're a huge disappointment. Yeah. Joey McGuire has been a huge disappointment. He wins this game. He shuts a lot of people up. You win this game convincingly, and Baron Morton and Taj Brooks play well. There's nothing to talk about Joey McGuire. But if you lose this game, and in Lubbock, we don't start talking about making a change with Joey McGuire at Texas Tech, because what excuse can you run out this time? If you have another YO last year where you zero blitz with the game on the line in overtime inexplicably, if this defense gets torn up for 30+ points again, it's not anybody else's fault but Joey McGuire.
Boom, out of here.
Because you should be better than Arizona State.
Yes.
And the truth is, you are better than. But is Kenny Dillingham a better head coach than Joey McGuire?
I think that's close.
We're going to find out.
Yeah, I think that's close.
We're going to find out. And I think when I look at this game, I think this is and I'm not trying to over dramatize anything, but we talk a lot of Tech football on this show. This is one of those games where you point back in history and say, yeah, that's why we had to fire Joey, because of that Arizona State game. That was just the end.
Yes.
Remember all those questions we had about Joey McGuire, and then he went and thumped Arizona State to open up Big 12 play in 2024. We haven't looked back since then.
He has our full respect.
That's where we're at with Joey McGuire.
100%.
And if you're in Lubbock and you're not, then you're not paying attention. If you are not questioning Joey McGuire today, you're not concerned about winning or losing. You just are glad you have a football team.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's good enough. I truly do not.
I would agree. I think Texas Tech wins this game. I think Baron Morton and Taj Brooks have big nights.
59
in it.
Yeah. It's 59 and a half.
The
number is 59 and a half.
38-34, Texas Tech. Shootout. Entertaining game. Turnovers. Entertaining game.
Baron's my guy. Baron is my guy.
If you're a Tech fan, Baron should be your guy. You should believe in him. He is proven. It's like I said, he can throw it all over the football field. There is not a throw that dude can't make. There is not a throw he's unwilling to make. So, for me, I that's what I'm saying. Like, the North Texas game, giving up 21 to North Texas, not a great look, but you dropped 66. Like, I would expect 35+ in this game.
I think I go back to the Washington State game, and I learned about Baron Morton in that game. That was a beatdown. Your defense embarrassed you, and Baron Morton just kept slinging the rock. Now, did he throw 2 picks? He did. But he also spread the football, and I think that's what he's going to have to do here.
And I also think when you're playing from behind, you're going to take more chances too. So that's going to lead to some more interceptions.
Well, that might be the case.
Yeah.
But I also think that when I look at a dude, like, I want to see Josh Kelly break out as one of the premier receivers in this conference, and I want it to happen this week.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested to see how it all plays out.
I want it.
I'm going to go 42-27. Texas Tech blows out Arizona State.
38-34. It's a close one.
You're dumb. Deb MC, does ASU score more points than Abilene?
Abilene.
But Abilene had our former quarterback and all of his friends. So they were familiar. That was the excuse against Abilene. Well, they know they quarterback our friends.
Monty, they had our former quarterback, man. It was, that wasn't a big deal. Like, come on.
Dev, why do you have to bring up Abilene? And can you not say Christian? Can you just say Abilene? Hey, man, I'm going to play ball at Abilene. Okay, I'll stop. Ahmad, I think talking about new members can't be beating legacy members is not the right approach. Oh, I don't disagree with that. It's just a moment in time where specific teams are on the rise. If Utah wins it all, it's good for the Big 12. It absolutely is.
I disagree. I think that
really,
yeah, I disagree because I think that you don't get to have it both ways, especially as an ACC guy. You don't get to say that that the Big 12 is not the best basketball conference in the country, and they struggle in football and they don't have the biggest TV deal, and then tell me that it doesn't matter that Utah is going to come in here and beat Oklahoma State at their place this weekend, then go on to win the conference, then go on to win
But isn't it inarguable though that the Big 12 is in rebuilding mode? And I agree that it is an indictment on Oak State that they are not the premier brand in this conference. And it pisses off Oklahoma State fans when we talk about how Utah's the best program in the country. Prove me wrong this weekend. That to me is where the rubber meets the road. Texas Tech is one of the most disappointing programs in this conference because you zero blitz in overtime and your defense is horrendous.
What's wrong with you?
And you don't win big games.
Yeah.
With all that offensive talent, all you need is me to rush the passer and you should win games.
Agreed.
But I look at where this conference is. You're losing Texas and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma State and Texas Tech, I think, are two of the most important programs in this conference.
So that's what I'm saying, man. I respectfully, I just disagree that it doesn't matter.
I agree that it matters.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you that it matters.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is putting this Big 12 conference into the college football playoff is good for the Big 12.
Agreed.
And let's be honest. If Oklahoma wins, or excuse me, if Utah beats Oklahoma State, it's good for the conference. But it's also bad for what this conference used to be, because all that does is cement all the talk that, as I've said, Oklahoma State, your legacy and your brand was always tied to Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And Oklahoma left, and if you can't beat Utah at home tomorrow, you are who we thought you were.
I mean, do we agree, like, in the comments section that Oklahoma State has a problem stepping into the spotlight a bit? Like, Oklahoma State, like, I don't feel like has really grasped onto this chance they have here, where now two of the biggest brands in all of college football in Oklahoma and Texas are in the SEC now. You have this opportunity to really, like, step into the forefront and really, like, launch yourself up the ladder. But I don't really feel like they look at it that way. I feel like Mike Gundy is kind of, and I don't know, I'm just saying this based off what I've seen, how the football team's, behaving so far. I'm not confident that Gundy necessarily fully embraces what's in front of him here.
Is Mike Gundy coasting? Is Mike Gundy looking forward to his life of repairing Pepsi coolers? I don't know. He does not seem fully engaged to me. But again, I'm probably making too much out of it. USC at Michigan. Another chance for Michigan to prove the haters wrong. But that's not going to happen. Let's get carried away. Let's get carried away.
Let's get outlandish.
If USC wins this game on the road at the house, is Miller Moss a Heisman Trophy candidate?
Yes. Yeah, I think he is.
You're the starting quarterback at USC. Ain't nobody give a damn about you before 2 weeks ago in Las Vegas.
Who's Miller Moss?
And now you've got everybody's attention after the LSU win. And now you're going to Michigan, who cannot score points, and they're having an orgy at quarterback.
I'm for real.
Nothing?
I'm not playing your games, okay?
They're starting orgy at quarterback.
Which I don't even disagree with that decision.
It's the right decision.
Yeah.
And it's not personal with Alex Orji. He's just not a big time quarterback. But I also don't think you have another big time quarterback on your roster, which brings me to Miller Moss at USC. It is the spotlight quarterback program in this country in most seasons. Caleb Williams, #1 overall pick, won a Heisman Trophy. What are you going to do? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to come onto the scene in a big splash. You're going to beat LSU in Las Vegas. You're going to say all the right things. You're going to go to Utah State and do exactly what you were supposed to do, is take care of your business. And now you're in Ann Arbor. You're going to go play in front of what most people think will be one of the largest crowds that USC's ever played in front of. And it's going to be largely made up of a lot of USC fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this has the potential to be a coming out party for Miller Moss.
Yeah, one of the big takeaways out of the LSU game for me with Miller Moss was, obviously he made the throws. He did his job, did it at a really high level,
Yes,
deserves a
he
ton
did.
of credit for that. But if you guys go back and listen to that show we did after that game, one of the things that I'm really curious about is this dynamic where, Lincoln Riley is a brilliant offensive mind, understands, not only down and distance, but where you're at in the game. His risk assessment in the moment is top notch, some of the best you'll see in college football. And because of that, his play calling puts Miller Moss, specifically in the LSU game, in great positions to be successful. And
72.7% completion percentage.
So when you think about that number right there, do we get, 68, 69, 70% against Michigan again? And is that because of Lincoln Riley's ability to put him in a great spot, or is it because of Miller Moss's ability to put the ball in the right spot? Because a lot of those LSU plays were great throws, but it's not like he had to put it in this tiny little window where only his guy could get it, right? And I think when you're playing at the Big House, you're playing Michigan, what you can't have is, again, the interception. You can't have that. You can't have bad mistakes. You need to get completions early, get going, and you need to do what Texas did, honestly. Because what did Texas do? Texas got off to a very fast start, was going to score in that first possession, but had that penalty that took it back, so they kicked the field goal, and they were just off and running. So if USC is, let's say, 70% of what Texas is, because that's where I would put them, USC should win this game going away.
I think it's really interesting how good the USC defense has been and how bad this Michigan offense is. And it's not even, are you ready, Jake? That they're going to have an orgy at quarterback. Grow up. It is that they have not at Michigan been able to run the ball.
Yeah.
Facts.
And that you only put up 28 against Arkansas State is a little surprising. That you're not good on third down is a lot surprising. And that you're having to rely on your quarterbacks to convert on third down because you just haven't been able to run the ball is surprising at Michigan. And again, I think we all on this show agree they were always going to backslide this year.
Right.
You're not going to play at the level you played at last year. But this far? Yeah, this far. And I think you start looking at some of these numbers and you understand that Arkansas State was able to convert 7 out of 12 third downs. That's surprising. That's surprising.
That's almost, was that 58%?
It's wild to me. USC quarterback Miller Moss, I think he's the third highest rated passer after contact. He's been really good. He's been really, really good.
Yeah, made multiple throws were in that LSU game where he took a shot.
Yes, and you start looking at what guys like Warren and Orji have not been able to do, and you start to understand this game should not be close, but it will be. It's at Michigan. This is, I think, clearly, without question, the biggest stage that Miller Moss has ever performed on, and we're about to figure out who he is. As good as he has been the first 2 weeks, this is one of the most, and it still is, because I don't doubt the veracity and the quality of Michigan fan. There'll be 107,000 people in that place tomorrow. But here's what else I don't doubt. Lincoln Riley on 14 days of preparation is going to beat your ass.
Yeah.
And now USC has a defense. And I know y'all mocked me for that. And I know y'all laughed at me for that.
Yep.
And I know y'all said that USC doesn't play defense and Lincoln Riley's a disaster. Well, apparently when Lincoln Riley says, hey, I'm going to hire a defensive coordinator, I'm going to get out of the way. Apparently he's still pretty damn good at developing a quarterback, and he hired the right guys on defense and D'Anton Lynn. who I told you, he put together a staff at USC that is unbelievable. They had a great portal, and now they're getting after the quarterback. And as it turns out, linebackers still matter in football.
Who knew?
Linebackers still matter in football. I think the consensus score in this game is 46.5 combined.
Yeah, that's light.
That's light.
That's light, dude.
And what you're telling me is that you believe this game's within a touchdown. I think it's a 10-point win for USC. I think that this is very much a 35-24 USC win, because I just have not seen enough on in the lines at Michigan. The defensive and the offensive lines have not been the same that we're used to under Sharon Moore. I think, again, you're making another quarterback change. You haven't run the ball. You haven't been explosive. And I think that Miller Moss is going to explode into the Heisman race. I got to go 35-24 SC.
Yeah, I actually think it's going to be a little wider than that. I think Michigan's inability to score and USC's athleticism on defense is shades of Texas, meaning they're not as good as Texas. They're not. They shouldn't be in the same conversation. But I do think the athleticism at the linebacker position keeps Alex Orji in check. And then I also think that the linebackers will keep that run game in check. And if you force Orji to have to throw, that's going to be a really tough position for him to be in. I like him, but to your point, he's not an explosive or just some huge big time quarterback. He's another guy in a long line of Michigan quarterbacks who are just okay. And to me, I look at this and I say, hey, you know what? I trust Lincoln Riley and that offense to put up, 30 at least on the road in this game. And the reason I push that to 38 to 40 points is because of Michigan's inability to get first downs when it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. And when you can't get first downs in those situations, USC is going to get 3, 4, 5 extra possessions that they probably shouldn't get. And that is why I think you're looking at 38 for USC. And I think Michigan will be lucky to get to 24. I think you're 38-21 at most for Michigan.
Kamari Ramsey. Nobody knows who that is. It's a safety at USC, and the kid's a stud. And he's great against the run. He's an intuitive football player. And the other guy you got to watch is Easton Mascarenas-Arnold. He's a linebacker at USC, and he's a stud.
So good.
Eric Gentry is a linebacker at USC, and he is a stud. And the way that those three guys complement each other and the way that they play together and the way that they are disruptive, gap assignment sound, which I am a huge believer in. If you do not on defense have gap integrity, you have lost. And against a team at Michigan that's going to have to run the football to win. Those three cats for USC will determine how effective you are at running the football. And I just don't have hope that it's effective, because I think that you look at what we've seen out of Michigan, and the Michigan fan that's generally here, I think I have slapped you in the mouth, and I have been exactly accurate, and I have told you exactly what this team was going to be.
Don't you know who I am?
You were going to be I'm not going to make a male impotency joke about your offense, but you haven't been able to run the flag up the pole this year. And you're making a quarterback change, and we know who Alex Orji is. We know who the guy is. We know what he's capable of.
And we know what he's not.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Ferris Khan, the noted Michigan fan in the room. The magic number for Michigan to win is 65% running plays, 55% completions. All right, let's diagnose that a little bit. What makes you think that Alex Orji, who I think we know, right? Don't we know who Alex Orji is?
Yeah.
What makes you think against this defense that Alex Orji is going to be able to do that? That's what I'm trying to figure out. And what I want to know is that when you look at the grand total of 6 passes he's thrown, What makes you think he's going to be able to complete 55% passes against this defense, which has been surprisingly aggressive and surprisingly effective against the pass?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm curious about.
And what did we see out of Orgy? What did we see? We saw a bunch of RPO, trying to make guys miss, trying to, fool the defense, right? We saw him come in against Texas.
Do you guys understand that this cat's got 7 career attempts?
Yeah. So when you go back to the comment, I don't think you're going to see, some scintillating passing performance.
They're not going to throw the ball all over the field.
No.
Because I think he's a junior. You know who this cat is. You've got to run the football. You've got to run the football to win this game. It is as simple as that. The idea, and this is the question, Ferris, that I have for you, that you believe that you can 65% running plays with no threat offensively then. Because what that tells me is if you're going to only throw the ball 35% of the time, then you're trying to go over the top. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, you're trying to bring the safety down through running the football, and then you're going to try and take a shot.
Has he ever been a guy at Michigan who has been counted on to throw the football to win the game? No, he hasn't. If you're running the ball, I agree. You have got to be balanced. I think you have to be very balanced, and you have to run the ball effectively enough to give him enough time and space. But then the elephant in the room is Colston Loveland is likely not to play in this game. And if he does, he's only going to be about 60% because he's got whatever this upper body injury is.
Right.
I don't see, and in getting ready to talk about this game, here's what I just keep coming back to. I don't see a path for Michigan to win this game. And I said that against Texas, and y'all laughed at me. I don't see a path for Michigan to win this game.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
If Michigan is to win this game, it will be on the failure of USC.
Okay, here's what he said here. What's he said there?
Orgy has not been allowed to pass so far. He was a 70% passer in the spring game. In the spring game where they're not allowed to hit him. You can't really tell me you're relying on the spring game.
I see. And this is
his 3rd year at Michigan. And whatever you want to say about Save Harbaugh, JJ McCarthy, he was never like dominant quarterback guy.
No.
He was Harbaugh's guy, which is why he played.
And he did a job, right? I mean, give him credit. He did a job.
But if this cat was so good, he'd have been starting. The problem is you're leaning on a spring game performance. And 55% when he's never done it in front of 100,000 fans with USC, with the men of Troy standing on the other side of the line of scrimmage. You don't take what is essentially your first big game start when you've been there for 2 years and now you're getting the job. You don't take that and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to come out here and
it'll be fine.
You generally don't do that. Not against a defense that's look this way and they have 2 weeks off. And I think as a Michigan fan, I would think you would know Colston Loveland is not probably to play in this game. And he's the tight end at Michigan.
Yeah.
One of the best tight ends in the country. I mean, he's no Cody Ford, but he'll do. He's one of the best. And I'm never letting that go. He's one of the best tight ends in the country. Come on, man. What's the path to victory? Is 55% very reasonable? For most quarterbacks, it is. For a guy who's never been asked to throw a pass of leverage or significance, I don't know that it is.
And by the way, it's not Cody Ford. It's Josh Ford.
That's why I'm calling him Cody Ford. God. If you don't know why I'm talking about Josh Ford, the Reverend Oak State James came in here and said, I don't know who Josh Ford is.
Right.
And that I don't understand who he is. And so I won't call him Josh Ford. I'm going to call him Cody Ford. And I'm going to say he's no Cody Ford, but he will do.
Okay, well, now I know that. I just want to make sure.
Well, maybe if you'd showed up for work on Monday, you would.
Well.
Anyway. Tanner Plummer. I think it's going to be close, partly because it's the big house, 28-24 USC.
Yeah, that's what they said about Texas. And Michigan's going to have to show that, dude.
USC will load up the box and stop the run and make Orji try to make plays. I would agree with that. 35-14 USC and 14 comes in Garbo time. Don't disagree.
Could be.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't USC linebacker coach the former head coach of North Dakota State? Yeah, the powerhouse FCS multinational. Yeah. Another South. Yeah. Yes. I love you. I love you. Thank you. 35-14 SC and the 14 comes at garbage time. Utah 27-17, BYU 24-21, 3 minutes to BYU time. What are you doing, Calford? 5 more Monty Show memberships.
Let's spend that bread.
Let's go. Let's go. You guys dropping 25 memberships today.
Hit the like button.
Appreciate that. Yes, we're way behind. Way behind. Only 58 likes today. Yes, please hit the like button. A couple more on this. Giggity. Why are we talking about the founder of Ford Motors on a sports talk show? Exactly.
Yeah, we got to stick to sports. You're right. My bad.
Can't talk about Cody Ford like that.
Yeah, come on.
Kay Nurin, hit the like button. Yes. Thomas Reed, the final one on this. USC will roll. UM is a talent drop year and will be lucky to get 8 wins this season. There will be 50 more when Caleb beats Pitt. Let's go. Day 8 of UNLV held hostage. Phil Vencers. They're not being held hostage.
Oh, Phil.
Brandon Butler, 5 Monty Show memberships.
Okay, Brandon.
Let's go. Hour number 2 of the Monty Show is presented by our good friends at Prize Picks, prizepicks.com. On a Football Friday, you got to get into the description here on our YouTube channel or just download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You get the best daily fantasy promo I've ever heard of. You deposit $5. Prize Picks will give you 50 more when you use the promo code Monty. Open up a new account at Prize Picks in their app. Download it on your phone. Make a $5 deposit. They'll give you 50 more. And you can be like me and have Prize Picks ruining your football life because
whatever.
I'm sitting there last night and A-Raj, who apparently still owns the Chicago Bears, throws 2 touchdowns. Yay!
Demon.
Old Uncle Marty wins right on a demon, which means at Prize Picks, when you use the demon, it means that it pays more.
Right.
The issue is that Greg Zuerlein, who I was talked into selecting by certain people on the show.
What did I say? You didn't listen to me because you never listen to me. What did I say? I took Zuerlein less than 7 kicking points last night. That's a win. So hate on it all you want. I told you to take the kicking points, but you didn't want to hear from me.
I should have taken Breece Hall. And
Y'all want to play.
And it's my fault. It's my failings
Monty.
Because the first time somebody screws you over on Prize Picks, that's their fault.
Hey, listen,
the
I'm
second
going 3
time
for 3 on this game
somebody,
last night, bro.
The second time somebody screws you on Prize Picks, it's your fault.
That's it, Skippy.
There endeth the lesson. Greg Zuerlein, I needed 2 field goals. He missed one and made one. Now I need Caleb Williams to go for 1 passing yard and you win because I played a flex play. Now, thankfully, I also played a Major League Baseball flex play because, well, pimp's going to pimp. And as we all know, the Chicago Cubs of Chicago pulled out a nail biter.
Yeah, I know what time it is.
Against the Curly W.
Right.
And I would like to thank my guy, Seiyao Suzuki. Now, I tell you, I understand that Shohei Ohtani may have had a good night at the plate. He had a couple of RBIs, may hit a home run or something, I heard. I didn't really pay attention. My guy was 3.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Seiyao Suzuki. 2 RBIs, 2 hits, and a run. Because he went yak all over your face.
Bet you weren't expecting this one.
This guy. Thank you, Shohei Ohtani, because half a home run. Yeah, he hit 3. He also had 10 RBIs or something, I heard.
Yeah. So are you ready to crown him the greatest athlete ever?
Who gambled on baseball? I am.
There is no question.
And I would also like to crown speaking. And why does my Prize Picks app keep closing? I would also like to crown my guy. And again, what do I tell you? If you're going to Prize Picks baseball, who do I tell you have to play every day? Aaron Judge. Total bases. 2. He had 1. 2 out of 3 on a flex play. And I was thinking about taking Shohei Ohtani last night on Prize Picks.
Right.
How big of a deal is this? And I'm happy to get into this before we get to BYU. How big of a deal is the Shohei Ohtani thing? 50-50. I'm cynical at times about guys who do bad things.
Right.
I think Shohei Ohtani had one of the single greatest offensive performances we have ever seen at the plate last night. 3 bombs, 10 RBIs, stolen bases, like
cash.
50-50, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. Is it Joe DiMaggio's hitting streak? Is it Jackie Robinson breaking into the majors, breaking the color barrier? I think it is. I think it is for a lot of reasons. The fact that he is of Asian descent, I think, is massive in this world right now.
Yes, it is.
I think the fact that somebody who is now unquestionably the best player in Major League Baseball to put up a 50-50 season, which has been done how many times?
Never.
Ever. Never. It's a massive moment in baseball history, but are we just 50-50 washing his gambling scandal? Well, and am I an a-hole for thinking?
I think it's fascinating that people have seemingly just let it go.
Oh, it's gone.
It's gone. Like it's just disappeared.
Ime Ekpe, the translator, is in prison.
Yeah, Buddy's up on federal charges. Nobody gives a darn about him. Like, you look at this and it's funny. Like we're getting ready to do the show this morning, and we always have Sports Center on or whatever. And they're out here saying this is one of the greatest achievements ever in sports, not because he's, created a new club in baseball, 50-50, not just because of that.
Not because he did it in a Los Angeles Dodgers uniform.
Yeah, not because it's a Dodger thing. Like they're out here saying, hey, it's one of the greatest achievements ever, mainly because he's rehabbing his UCL, mainly because of his quote best friend turning his back on him, because that was his
interpreter.
Yeah, the new narrative is his best friend stabbed him in the back and stole all that money.
Stole tens of millions of dollars, and he didn't notice.
So and
he's a victim.
I agree. This is one of the greatest sporting achievements we've ever seen. 50-50 is nothing to shake a stick at. That is an incredible achievement, given the fact that yes, you're rehabbing your arm. You're not able to pitch. Like you're only.
Is it Wilt Chamberlain 100 points?
I think it's better than that. I think the time that Wilt played in, the body he had, the ability he had, he was just better than you. That was taking candy from a baby. This is more like, hey, you're talking about taking a round baseball bat and attempting to hit a round ball more than probably 350 feet in most parks, 370.
Dude. Yeah.
50 times against the best talent in the world. That I can't emphasize how difficult that is to do. So from a pure baseball perspective, he is probably the greatest player the game's ever seen, honestly, with everything that he can do. He's not just a hitter. He's not just a pitcher. He's not just a runner.
So is he Wayne Gretzky points, assists? Is he, because SportsCenter was running down some of the greatest moments.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's better than Wilt Chamberlain. Is it better than Ken Griffey Jr. or Cal Ripken Jr.'s 26-32? That's the one I think it's not better than.
It's not better than that, no.
That's a lot of games in order, and maybe you shouldn't have. But I don't know. I think it is. It would be on par with. It would have to be something Olympic longevity. Simone Biles, Michael Phelps.
Here's the problem for me comparing this to the Olympic longevity piece. The Olympic longevity piece with Phelps and Biles and anyone else on that level is better than this.
I agree.
Because this is one great season. And again, I think it's one of the greatest baseball achievements we've ever seen.
But let's describe it. It's one of the greatest offensive performances last night. What Shohei Ohtani did last night was one of, I've never seen a guy have 3 bombs, 10 RBIs, multiple stolen bases. I've covered this game for a long time.
Like, he's able to go oppo with it. He can take it to right field.
The 50th home run was an opposite field shot. Like,
I mean, the guy is gifted, clearly. But I think one thing we need to do is we need to be comfortable saying, hey, what Simone Biles or Michael Phelps or anybody else on that level is doing against the world's best talent for that many years is different than having
the
one
dedication
great
it
season.
takes.
Yeah.
I think the Olympics are a separate thing.
Yes.
I've covered baseball for a long time. I've never seen anybody do that. I've never seen, I saw Matt Cain throw a perfect game. I have watched Albert Pujols hit balls to the moon.
You've been a part of multiple World Series
I've
games.
seen multiple World Series championships in St. Louis and San Francisco.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that. I think hitting a baseball is the hardest thing in professional sports to do. I think it's impossible. I think he's the best player in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, but I also look at Lopes fan Gabe's comment right here.
Against the best talent in the world, J2H knows he's playing the Marlins.
But here's my problem with that, with all due respect. It's a weak ass take because he's been doing it all season. Well, but people want to say, oh, it was the Marlins. Like, this isn't anything special.
Marlins manager and friend of the Monty Show, Skip Schumacher. Again, I covered him in St. Louis on that championship team in 2006.
Yeah.
What did he say after the game? I'm not walking him. We owed the game of baseball to go after him. No, you didn't. I've always disagreed with this. Walk Barry Bonds. Walk Mark McGwire. Walk Sammy Sosa. I'm not pitching to you because I'm not losing the game. I want to win every game. I want to win every at-bat in every game, right? But that's just me. I at least understand, even if you know a fastball is coming, do you know how hard it is to hit that ball 375, 380, 400 feet 50 times in a season while stealing 50 bases? There's a reason it's never happened.
And even if it is the Marlins, I just think it's disrespectful to say it's the Marlins. They're still Major League Baseball is the best talent in the world. You're not there by accident. Now, are there levels to the game in Major League Baseball? Do the Marlins suck by Major League Baseball standards? Yes, but the guy's still throwing the ball 97 miles an hour, dude.
Look across the face of yesterday was a significant day in Major League Baseball. The Cleveland Guardians clinched a playoff spot. Shohei Ohtani 50-50, 3 bombs, 10 RBIs. Yesterday was a historical day in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
And he is a historical figure. And I think it matters that he's the best player in baseball. Aaron Judge isn't doing what Shohei's doing. The art of stealing bases has changed so much. Now you can't throw over. I totally understand it. It's so difficult to steal 50 bases.
Yeah.
And stay healthy doing it. Now, granted, he's very fortunate he plays first base and DH is a lot. But 50 and 50 is significant.
Yeah.
I think it is. That's a big deal. Shohei is just lucky he got a cute dog and an interpreter fall guy. That's the only hang up for me.
Yes.
The gambling thing is a big deal. It's a big deal for me. It's never been done. 50-50 is a huge moment. He has Yakuza to make things go away.
Bro, chill.
Dude, you are on one.
Chill, dude.
You have to separate the art from the artist. I can appreciate what Kobe did on the floor, but have issues with what he did in Colorado. Again, I was in the middle of that situation. I worked for the Lakers when the Lakers radio network, when Kobe was going through that. And I can tell you, that's one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Kobe in that run. I think Shohei, This is one of the greatest athletic achievements I've ever seen.
I'm comfortable, more than comfortable saying, and I'm a Kobe guy. Hitting 50 bombs and stealing 50 bases is more difficult than winning a scoring championship in the NBA. It's more difficult than
Scoring 80 points.
Scoring 80 points in an NBA
I
game.
think hitting 3 home runs and knocking down 10 RBIs is more difficult than 80 points in the NBA.
I would say the only
I agree
thing
with that.
more difficult than what Shohei Ohtani did last night would be what Tiger did on the golf course, and his ability to dominate in a way that just has never been seen before. Like, I think golf is one of the most difficult sports that nobody wants to talk about. And, I understand it. Everyone says it's boring. But as someone who golfs a lot, I can tell you how hard it is.
Will 50-50 ever happen again?
Well, and this is the other conversation that a lot of the pundits are talking about. Like, does he come even close? So once he starts pitching again, because that's going to happen, obviously, does 50-50 become impossible because he doesn't have the same number of at-bats? Let's say he's more tired because he is pitching. Like that changes the dynamic. And so I wonder for Ohtani, if for him as a player, right? Because obviously every player prioritizes their performance in a different way. So if you're Ohtani, you're coming back from Tommy John, you're dealing with this, the rehab, all that. Do you now prioritize performing on the bump more than at the plate? Or is it just a thing where you're like, cool, I can pitch again. Let's go out and hit a little round ball and make hundreds of millions of dollars doing it and send my buddy to federal prison.
I'm trying to figure out who's even capable of 50-50. Ellie De La Cruz comes to mind. Acuna, but he can't stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know who's capable of it.
A lot of people want to ride the Bobby Witt train, but I don't think he's got the power. I think he can give you
Jose
30.
Ramirez steals a lot of bases, but I don't think he's a 50 home run guy.
Yeah.
I mean, the speed power component is so difficult. That's why it's never been done before. Hell, 50-25 is very rare.
Yeah.
Like I don't know of the guys that steal a lot of bases. I just don't know that there's anybody.
Look at a guy like Billy Hamilton in his career. This is a guy that's a burner, and that's all he does. He's a defensive guy, plays center field because he can run, and he causes havoc on the bases. But he can't do what Ohtani did.
No.
He doesn't have that kind of pop in his
I
body.
think it's probably Ellie De La Cruz and Acuna.
Yeah.
Ronald Acuna Jr. That's probably
I'm
it.
with you. Yeah.
And I don't know that Ellie De La Cruz has the plate discipline yet or has developed the power to hit 50 bombs.
Right.
You're a unicorn. That's what this is.
Yep.
That's what this is. I don't even know how else you would do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I want to understand it, but I don't. I want to understand it, but I don't. I do understand a huge game in Provo for BYU and K-State. We'll talk about that in 15 seconds.
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Insurance companies don't always play fair, but we can keep them in check. Most cases settle out of court, but we'll take your case to trial if necessary. You deserve an advocate.
I don't even know who would be capable of 50-50. That's what we're sitting here talking about. Like, I don't even know who Mike Trout should be.
Think Mike Trout in his prime and how much better Ohtani is already.
Yeah.
Like,
Mike Trout's one of the most disappointing athletes in the history of professional sports, in my opinion. Anyway, the Monty Show, presented by our good friends at The Advocates, theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. Make sure you hit them up online where you can chat with an injury attorney 24/7, 365, and it won't cost you a dime at theadvocates.com. K-State, BYU, Big 12 After Dark, 8:30 p.m. down there, TDS in Provo. Team down south. Okay. BYU hosting K-State, and the Retzlaff mania continues. Because I think it's very interesting when you look at as much maligned as BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff has been. I think Jake has been everything and more that BYU has needed. And this is that game that we talk about, Miller Moss breaking out at Michigan. This is a game where Jake Retzlaff and BYU with Avery Johnson and K-State, they're going to have the national spotlight. They're certainly going to have the spotlight of everybody on the West Coast.
Yep.
Because it's a huge game. It's a huge game. Is Jake Retzlaff doing the job for BYU, Jake?
Yeah, I think he's doing the job. I think that, I think that Jake is right now, he's clearly working on it, but I think he's just a bit prone to throwing interceptions. And I don't think that they're like awful decisions. I don't think that, they're just terrible, like, hey, you shouldn't be the quarterback of BYU type interceptions. But the reality is whatever type they are, they got to stop. I mean, if you want to win games like this, you can't turn the football over like that. You cannot allow K-State to build momentum on defense on your field. That can't happen. And so, yeah, I think largely Jake is doing the job. But for me, like, I do think there's another level he needs to go to here where I think he does a great job of commanding the offense and being in control. But I think that there's another sort of layer or level of trust that I think he can gain in this game by showing like, hey, the ball in this game is never going to be in danger. I'm not going to make a decision or force a throw that I shouldn't. And I think sometimes for Jake, what he's learning is that you can't force the throw. You can't, against Big 12 competition, like K-State as an example, you can't force the ball into positions it shouldn't be in.
Is that what he's doing? I think there
are times he takes risks that maybe are not warranted, and it's worked out for him for the most part.
The disguise interception he had a couple of weeks ago against SMU, great defensive schematics, but the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
This right here is PFF, Pro Football Focus.
Yeah.
Big 12 quarterbacks. I know Jake Retzlaff sucks. He's terrible. He's the worst quarterback anybody has ever seen ever on the face of the earth. That's funny because he's the 4th rated quarterback by PFF in the Big 12. I said the 4th rated quarterback in the Big 12 behind Noah Fafita, Jalen Daniels, and Shedeur Sanders. And somebody needs to explain to me why Jake Retzlaff gets the heat that he gets, because I don't think it's deserved. I think that he is 5th in a passing grade, 2nd in average depth of his target, which means he pushes the ball down the field. 3rd in passer rating. I don't understand how Jake Retzlaff, who is only one of 4 FBS quarterbacks with an 8.9 yards per attempt on 94 attempts. On 94 attempts. He has the 2nd most touchdown passes in that group to Eli Holstein at Pitt, who has 9.
Right.
I want to understand why Jake Retzlaff doesn't get the credit he deserves. And yes, I fight for Jake Retzlaff on this show, not because he was on every week during the summer, but Jake Retzlaff is a guy that is doing the job and then some at BYU. And he is the reason that I am picking BYU to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
The quarterbacks are all we need to talk about. This game is at altitude. It's 8:30. It is mountain time. It's going to be a pretty crisp air. And it's going to be a wild house.
Biggest game of Jake's career, without
Absolutely,
a doubt.
and it's not close. And I think when you look at what you have with K-State and BYU, I don't think there is any doubt that Chris Kleiman has an opportunity here to dispel some of the haters who say he loses games he shouldn't lose. Here's the problem with that theory. This isn't a game he should win. BYU is better than we thought that they would be. And Avery Johnson is exactly who we've told you all season long that he is. He's a guy that you cannot count on to stand in the pocket and deliver the football. Now, is BYU going to be very challenged to stop the run in this game? They are.
Yeah.
But that means it's going to be a lower scoring game. And when you have a guy like Jake Retzlaff, again, call me crazy, I think one of the best big play quarterbacks in this league. That's a formula for success against K-State. Because here's the other thing you got to remember about the criticism of Jake Retzlaff. What has he not done well this year? And again, because I have no life, I watch a lot of his tape. He has not been accurate on sideline throws down the field.
Right.
There have been several deep balls where he's put it on the wrong side of the receiver. One of the interceptions down the field was on the wrong side of the receiver.
Had one a notable throw in the SMU game that should have been a touchdown.
And missed him. That's stuff that Jake Retzlaff can clean up. And I think you are going to see that they're going to come out and they are going to take shots. This wide receiver room, the number one rated wide receiver in this league is Chase Roberts at BYU. And that doesn't even account for Darius Laster. And that does not even account for the tight ends or Cody Epps. This offense is big play. But as I've told you many times about the BYU offense, if LJ Martin's on the field, Jake Retzlaff's a better quarterback.
100%.
Will he be healthy enough to play? He's listed at the top of the depth chart. Now the entire running back depth chart at BYU this week is an or. LJ Martin or. If LJ Martin plays and is capable in this game, BYU wins. And I think that you're looking at an equation for K-State that doesn't add up to a win. Can you throw the ball a lot and win this game? I don't believe you can with Avery under center.
Well, and I just don't think that Avery's a guy that you would, if you're K-State, you're in the quarterback room, you're putting together a game plan, right? Like, I don't think that you're going to sit here and be like, yeah, let's put together a script of our first 10 to 15 plays where, you know, we're going to be throwing it a lot. We're going to work that 5 to 8 yard intermediate, and we're going to get a lot of. I don't think that's what you're going to see. What I think you're going to see is they're going to get going in the run game early. But I think you're going to see a lot of run play option out of Avery Johnson in this game. I think
why would you?
Yeah, I think you're going to try and bring that BYU defense closer to the line of scrimmage, and then Avery Johnson in this game, and it will decide K-State's fate in this game, is going to have 3 to 4 chances to take a shot down the field in this game. And if he completes those, I think K-State wins the game. If he misses on those, which I do think he will miss, they will lose this game. And part of me feels like that as much as we want to talk about Miller Moss having a coming out game, this feels like Retzlaff's coming out game. This feels like Retzlaff's opportunity, first real national spotlight on ESPN opportunity to come out and say, hey, I've got 370 and, 3 touchdowns for you guys tonight. And then LJ is probably going to run for another.
Yeah, and I am very curious to see exactly how BYU runs the ball. Because, again, I'm telling you, LJ Martin, you have no idea who he is. He's a stud. He's a stud when he's healthy, but your best ability is your availability, and he's not often available to this club. And I think it is why you have got to have a guy like Enoch Nawahine play a bigger role, because I think he is the guy that, in my opinion, I think he is the guy that is the next man up. And I obviously, Hinckley Ropati is a guy that I have a lot of respect for. He's not healthy. I think that their best runner, Jake Retzlaff. I think Miles Davis is getting a lot of opportunity because he's more experienced.
Right.
But I am telling you, Enoch Nawahine is a guy that you should get to know. Number 21 for BYU. Now, having said all of that, DJ Giddens is the best running back on the field.
100%.
And I would expect him to have a huge game. I would expect him to be probably 150 and 2 touchdowns. Because I think the game plan here has to be to put a hat in the chest of Avery Johnson. I think you have got to rattle him. And I think that Tyler Batty and this defense have got to find a way to keep Avery Johnson from breaking them off for a single big run.
Yeah.
Because if they get 21 points on the ground, it's going to be awfully difficult for BYU to win this game.
Well, and I think that kind of plays into, why this game, I agree there's a way for this game to be lower scoring, but my instincts say this is going to be a little bit higher scoring of a game, because I think when you're on the road playing a night game, I think there's a couple of things at play here. That place is going to be packed. Make no mistake about it. It's going to be loud. We know what Lavelle is at night. We know that vibe.
Tough environment.
And to me, when you're going on the road in a tough environment at night, I think it's very different during the day. At night, tough environment, on the road, Big 12 opponent, you're going to run the football a ton. So I would agree with you. The backs for K-State are going to have a huge night. But I think Avery Johnson has to show an ability to make good decisions early in the game. I don't believe he's been put in a situation yet this year where he would be rattled or where he would be, potentially, a little bit shook early in a game and have to make some plays, get hit a couple of times. And so I think early in this game, there's going to be some opportunities, but I tend to agree that this is going to be a little bit higher scoring of a game. I think you're looking at, a field goal victory for either side here. No one's blowing each other out. And I really hope, for BYU's sake and for Jake Retzlaff's sake, at some point in this game, they're playing from ahead, because I think you're going to be chasing K-State a little bit here.
And I think every single time they RPO Avery Johnson, you got to hit him.
Yeah.
You got to hit him. Just assume he's going to keep the ball, because I think the magic number is 200 yards. You've got to hold K-State to less than 200 yards rushing, and if you do that, you have a chance to win this game. I think BYU scores 35 points in this game. I think that they will turn Avery Johnson over, because the one thing that concerns you about Avery Johnson against Arizona, who absolutely no-showed in Manhattan, he only completed 60% of his passes. Lesser opponents, he completes 65% of his passes. Better opponents, 60% of his passes. This BYU defense is up for the challenge.
Yeah.
He's going to have to win this game by running for 100 yards. If he and DJ Giddens each get 100 yards, K-State will win this game. BYU will be limited in possessions, and I think they'll win by 10 to 14 points. Only problem is you're not getting 200 yards rushing from those two cats, and I think that BYU's defense is up for this. I think that this is a 31-28 type game. And I think that BYU wins the game because they also have a really good field goal kicker.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm taking BYU in what is going to be one of the most exciting games. I think it's got big plays. I think it's got big hits. I think it has to be physical at the point of attack. And I think all of those three things favor BYU, because that's how they like to win games. 31-28 BYU wins.
I would agree with that prediction, 31-28. And one more note I would add for the BYU defense. This is a Jay Hill special right here. This is hey, we got to have a night on defense. We need to disguise. We need to be physical. We need to catch the ball, get that interception. Like, you got to make the big play. This is last season for BYU fans. This is the Max Tooley kind of game where you need that big play. You need that play on defense. And I think you will get it. And for that, I think that's why you win the game 31-28. And if you win this game, I don't want to hear any more nonsense about Kalani. I don't want to hear that Jake's not the guy. I don't want to hear that Aaron Roderick hasn't made adjustments, or that that Jay Hill hasn't been good enough, or whatever. I don't want to hear any of that, with all due respect, garbage that comes out of BYU fandom. I want to hear on Monday, hey, we went out, we did the job, Jake's the guy. What's next on the schedule?
Jack Emery says, quite possibly the stupidest thing I've heard on this show. BYU can't stop the run, so Kansas State has to win via the air. What makes you think BYU can't stop the run? BYU has a problem with defensive pressure and can't run without a quarterback. Okay, again, I'll just go to the statistics, which tell you you're completely wrong. BYU's run defense, that one that can't stop the run, fourth in the Big 12. Granted, K-State's third. They're giving up 105 yards a game running the ball and a 3.4 average. Their pass defense at BYU is fourth in the league, giving up 130 yards a game and averaging a 47.3% completion percentage. Now you want to talk about rushing? And I know BYU can't rush the ball. They're 10th in the league rushing the ball. 4.1 yards a carry, 151 yards a game, with most of their running backs injured. Playing a rotational style of running back. I would not categorize it as BYU can't run the ball. And as far as looking at pass defense and rushing the passer, I would not agree with that. I think when you look at defensive numbers, and BYU, who can't, apparently, you say pressure, they've got 6 sacks. They're 8th in the league in sacks. Now, K-State's second with 10. Utah's number 1 at 11. Nobody's having the argument that defensively BYU's better than K-State. But this comment right here where you're talking about BYU can't stop the run, BYU has a problem with defensive pressure and can't run without the QB. Yeah, I would disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest question is, how big is this game? I think it's a huge game. Because if BYU gets to 4-0 and K-State loses its first conference game, man, or second conference game, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And I think you're looking at a much maligned matchup. Is it Oak State, Utah? It's not. Does it have the impact on the conference that Oak State, Utah has? It does, because K-State is my pick to come second in this league. And I think that it's a huge game. And Donuts, BYU hasn't been tested outside of mid-SMU. Satake will find a way to lose 28-17. There's something to that. I think BYU...
I think they've also shown a lot of grit, though, on the road.
I would agree. Dominating WYO, dominating Southern Illinois. And Southern Illinois is a pretty good team on their own. I think that the biggest question is, when do we get a healthy LJ Martin? And will we ever see it for 6-7 games in a row? My guess is probably not. Roche says, let's go BYU. Okay. 24-17 BYU. The score may be wrong, but BYU is going to win. Guaranteed. Damn, they're going to lose. Xavier Wolf, BYU is a quality team. They are. Well coached. Jay Hill's a phenomenal defensive coordinator. Kevin K. Monty's take on Avery will not age well. He still thinks Howard didn't get shoved out.
And somehow you still think he did.
What I'm asking is, I'm here for the Avery Johnson conversation. Tell me what we've seen from Avery Johnson that makes you think he's capable of being a pocket passer that's going to carry you to a league championship. Because ultimately, when you look up and down this conference, the team that's going to win the conference championship is going to stand in the pocket and deliver the football. Because the defenses are actually quite good in the Big 12. And if we're talking about, this is why I don't put Oak State as a conference championship contender. Avery Johnson is a guy who doesn't throw the ball as well as Alan Bowman. Avery Johnson's a guy who never, ever in his K-State career has been asked to be a pocket passer. And if you're Lamar Jackson or Avery Johnson, at some point, you're going to have to stand in the pocket and deliver the football. He's never been able to do that. And I think teams would be just fine letting DJ Giddens run for 150 yards if Avery Johnson has to throw the football constantly.
Yep.
You're going to have integrity on the edge. You're going to beat K-State. That's what it's going to take. You are going to, in my opinion, beat K-State forcing Avery Johnson to run inside. Because he won't want to do that. That's a physical pounding.
Yeah, and I agree. I need more big hits out of that BYU defense because, dude, I'm telling you, they are here for it. That and it's not just one guy. That linebacking group and that safety group at BYU is here for, and they're not dirty hits either. That's the incredible thing. They are technically like fundamentally sound, shoulder to your chest, drop you type hits, and that's where. I'm just saying, I think that you can criticize us for what we say about Avery Johnson, but it is not in dispute. This is a run first quarterback who's not a polished thrower, and that's why his completion percentage is what it is.
And Jack Kelly's a savage for BYU.
Yeah,
he is 15th in the league in sacks. Remember, they don't pressure the quarterback. And I agree that he's not. Is he Brendan Mott? No, but again, I'm not telling you that BYU's defense is better than K-State's defense because it's not. What I'm telling you is this BYU defense is capable. We have seen this defense, and I think anybody who's watched BYU over the last several years struggle to even get over the line of scrimmage on defense, to have a guy just like on the others. They've struggled to have a guy even get a flag for being in the neutral zone. That's how inept their pass rush had been recently. That's not the case this year. You're looking at a defense that is putting guys in the backfield. Tyler Batty, I think, is having a really good year. And I think you look at this secondary And you start to understand that Jacob Robinson is an absolute stud, a first-round pick in the NFL draft, and somebody that you have to scheme for. And when you have a quarterback who doesn't throw the ball accurately down the field, I don't know, Avery Johnson, Jacob Robinson's the kind of guy that's going to ruin your Saturday night in Provo.
Yeah.
That's why when I look at pass defense numbers and I see Collins and Taggart and Robinson all in the top 25, BYU's defense is better. They're improving. And you look at some of the numbers and you look at the pass defense numbers. Yeah, I agree that the defense at K-State's better. But this defense at BYU with guys like, again, Evan Johnson's a guy you don't know. You don't know Jacob Robinson.
Yeah.
You don't know him because you don't watch it. You're talking about a defense that when you look at Isaiah Glasker, for instance, is a guy that's been disruptive for BYU. I think he's top 25 in TFLs in the Big 12 tackles for loss. Blake Mangelson, I think up front, that BYU's much improved. It's crazy to me that we're talking about a team that you guys at K-State and K-State fan, you just haven't seen.
100%.
So you don't understand it. Caleb Aylmore, hopefully Brock Purdy gets better protection this week. I think it's crazy 49er fans are questioning him, but Debo's got to stay healthy. Another guy. The line wasn't holding up well last week. I would agree. BYU 4-0, Utah 4-0. Potentially.
We'll see.
This could be a very difficult game for BYU. Jake Retzlaff is going to have the game of his life, in my opinion. Thomas Reed, I think UCF has a chance to become a power team in the Big 12. Nobody's talking about him. Nobody's talking about him. Jeremy Severe, this game is won in the trenches, slight edge to K-State. Jack Emery, BYU has a problem with running quarterbacks, and K-State just happens to have Avery Johnson. How does BYU have trouble with running quarterbacks?
Where is your evidence of that?
Where are we? Where are we again? And I'm happy to look at it. Tell me where you've seen, because are you pointing to the SMU game? Kevin Jennings, 9 for 38 yards. I wouldn't say that that's a huge problem running the football. Southern Illinois, is that what you're pointing to? I would agree that DJ Williams ran for 120 yards. He also threw for 98 yards and averaged 5 yards at completion. And BYU blew out Southern Illinois. So they have a problem with running quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think that's
I think you're hoping that. I don't think that that's accurate, though. Oak State James, BYU has a really good defense. They have a solid, improving defense. However, K-State's a great team. Kleiman is the right guy to succeed Bill Snyder. Are we still having that conversation? As long as he is there, they will win 9-10 games a season. Well,
we'll see about
I don't know about that. Caleb Aylmore, 27-13 K-State. Isaiah Glasker is a savage too. He is. Is Retzlaff better than Fafita? I think the issues, Arizona didn't show up. And I would also remind you that game was in Manhattan, not in Tucson. And the home field advantage that BYU enjoys at 8:30 at night is significant. So I don't know that this is
I think it's hard to, I mean, just on paper, like, yeah, Noah Fafita's got one of the best arms in college football, but
good
that
passer.
Doesn't, yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean that Jake doesn't, because Jake's got a cannon. I think what you should have said is Noah Fafita better at home at night than Jake Retzlaff? And to that question, I would say I'm not sure about that. I think that's pretty close.
Jack, I don't understand the vitriol. Like, the question that I have is, do you really think you can compare Arizona going to K-State and K-State going to BYU?
It's two different worlds.
In a program that's building at BYU and a program at Arizona that apparently after last week, I would agree, backslid a little bit with a new coach and a bunch of new talent. Fafita and T-Mac not being two of those new guys. They've been there. That's a good win. but it's not comparable. K-State is no SIU. Stormy Cyclone. Heard the same talk about BYU last year until Iowa State came in and blew their doors off. So BYU's the same team this year that they were last year. Is that what we're saying? I don't know about that. Like, see, you guys love to, K-State fan and Oak State fan, you guys like to put people in boxes. BYU's a completely different operation today than they were a year ago or any time during last season. And their offense is completely different. And their defense has a whole new list of characters on it. I just don't think you can compare the two. I agree. Nobody is talking about UCF, and that's why they sucker punch several teams and possibly sneak into the Big 12 championship game. It's September.
Yeah.
I don't get your 1 week at a time. 1 week at a time. BYU wins late games at home. It's a tough place to go and play at night. Many people have found that out. Honest question, do BYU fans go to Nevada to get alcohol?
What are you doing?
The Monty Ghost, hello. What's up, guys? Long time no speak.
Yeah, where you been?
Good. Well, I would say good to see you, but I can't see you because you're a ghost.
Let's see what he did there. It says a ghost. Can't see him, you know.
Mike Chase, the BYU Vampires, LOL, very good at night. They are. You can buy alcohol in Utah, James. Like, you can't justify the question.
Yeah.
Hey, man, do those Mormons,
Monty.
do the Mormons send all their wives down to Nevada to get the alcohol? Come on, man. K-State averages 7 yards per rush, and BYU's been suspect against QB runs. Based on what?
Yeah, like evidence, guy. Like numbers, evidence. What?
The question is, can Avery Johnson stand in the pocket and deliver the football? Because my guess is Jay Hill's going to force him to do that.
You don't honestly think that Avery Johnson on his own is going to run his team to victory tomorrow night? You right? Like, we're on the same page that he'll have a big game. He'll have numbers. But that doesn't mean that you're going to win the game because he's running the ball.
Yeah, I think
that's a different thing.
I think it's interesting that his passing stats are so incredibly mediocre. And you're trying to get into this position where you're saying that he is this dominant player. He's not a dominant player. He's an average quarterback. He is a better runner than a passer. It's not even questionable that he's a better runner than a passer. Did Avery Johnson take over the Arizona game in the second half? He did it with his feet because Arizona, they scored 7 points in that game. And I believe that was a first quarter touchdown. You were going to run the ball the entire night. You're going to run the ball the entire night tomorrow night because that's who you are. And that's not a bad thing, but let's not try to make Avery Johnson out to be the next, I don't know, whatever great quarterback you want to point to.
Lamar.
Like, he's not, I don't know why we have to do this about everybody's quarterback. Just tell the truth about your quarterback. Listen, I'm a Notre Dame fan. Riley Leonard farts and he pulls a muscle. Like, just be honest about your quarterback. He's not a great thrower of the ball. And the limitations are his arm. K-State's ceiling is as high or as low as Avery Johnson's ability to throw the football.
Yeah.
That's
still
my
waiting,
opinion.
Still waiting for evidence on how BYU struggles against running quarterbacks, by the way. Just waiting.
And we'll find out. We shall find out. We will see.
I don't want there to be any confusion on Monday. I'm not saying Avery Johnson's going to have a bad game. That's not what I'm saying. I think he will have a big game on the ground. I agree. He runs the football effectively. What I'm disagreeing with you on is that he's going to do to BYU what Arizona allowed him to do, because I just wholly disagree that BYU's defense should be compared to Arizona's defense.
No.
I think BYU's defense, it can be had over the top occasionally, but is physical and is going to let you know about that. And I think that the linebacking group is going to take shots at Avery Johnson. They are going to hit him. And He better. I just don't think that. It's incredible to me that you think they're going to go to Lavelle at a night at 4,000 feet at night, and you think this cat's going to get into a track meet.
Yeah, I just don't think I think anytime somebody says something contrary to your quarterbacks, everybody gets their self in a twist. I don't think Avery Johnson sucks. He's not a good thrower of the football. It's as simple as that. You're right. Did he take over the second half with his feet? Yes, because you were up huge. Why would he be throwing the ball?
Yeah.
Arizona never showed up for that game. They just didn't. So you would expect that at home. I would expect in Provo for this to be a much tighter game, and I would be shocked if BYU scored less than 24 points. Because they're going to move the football. This wide receiver group at BYU is as dynamic as any group in the country. Big Daddy Magic. Hey, player, honest take on my quarterback. Josh Allen's the great. Okay.
Cool.
Come on. Avery Johnson is going to have a big game because they will throw to their tight end and open up the middle of the field. Okay. We'll see. If this is a shootout, and Avery Johnson has to throw you to a win, because I think that's more likely than not. If I were going to Provo, taking on this BYU group, I would run the football. I think on your side of the 50-yard line, and it really better be there. If you are at BYU's 40-yard line, go for it on fourth down. Because their BYU's offense is explosive, and you cannot give them field position. But if you're fourth and short, you're going for it. But if you're in a tight game, Avery Johnson's not going to be able to throw you to a win. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I feel like Jake will have a breakout game tomorrow night. I would agree. Shout Quinn is good for 3 years in Sark's system. Texas was very bad few years till Sark came to put back Texas. Well, I would agree with that. The Monty Ghost, is the Woj bomb being replaced by the J2H bomb? Could be. Could be. Could absolutely be. Paid comment? I don't know. What about a paid comment? Oh, wow. Look at that. Midweek Coug, a member of the show for 7 months. Nice, and dude. He donates 20 Monty Show membership.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Calford gifted 5 Monty Show members. And Donuts, a member for 15 months.
Let's go, baby.
You two have a great weekend. We'll be up at Canyons Golf, the official golf club of the Monty Show. I love that the BYU game is on so late. My wife and I will be watching from a hotel in Lawrence either way. Let's go. Okay. That was for Mike Smith. Okay, Calford. Appreciate that.
Nice.
Your official pick on the BYU game is
31-28 BYU.
I'll go with you on that. Everybody hit the like button. Almost 2,000 views today, only 79 likes. Appreciate all 60 of you new members today. Thank you very much. Yes, everybody hit the like button. On the Monty Show, presented by The Advocates, theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. Chat with them live online. If the worst happens this weekend, you get hit up while you're riding your bike or your motorcycle. Clear, concise, risk-free advice. Theadvocates.com. Look it up. Tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Enjoy the games. We'll talk to you Monday morning. Until Monday, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.